So hello, you are listening to the very first episode of the Dougie Sharpe podcast. My guest today is the 2018 Olympic ski halfpipe gold medalist, the 2022 Olympic ski halfpipe silver medalist, multiple-time X Games gold medalist, two-time Crystal Globe winner. She was recently inducted into the British Columbia Hall of Fame. She's a new mother, and she is also my sister, Cassie Sharpe.
Woohoo!
Hi, Cass.
Hey,
Thanks for coming in and doing this one with me.
how fun.
I met some people in Costa Rica, and I was like, man, I really want to start a podcast. But since you were the one who started the fun facts, like you actually gave me the idea to start the fun facts.
Yeah.
Like as I was moving into this whole new thing, I was like, I really think it should be Cassie who does this one first.
I'm stoked to be here. So
nice.
fun.
Yeah, it's good. So I think you're so interesting because for how much you've done, you've been so quiet.
Yeah.
So quiet. Like very, very little people like know about you or where you've done or how your journey has actually been to get there. And while I am like so keen to just jump straight into Olympics, I think you had such a nice like story arc getting to where you are now. So I think we should go like all the way back because halfpipe was not your discipline. That was like, we grew up in a place that didn't have a halfpipe. So like how did that all come about?
So from the very beginning, growing up Mount Washington, you and Darce ripping around, it was just, I think I got into like the competitiveness because of you guys, because we were being the terrain park and you guys would be like, go do this, do a backflip, hit this jump, come on, do this rail. I'm like, I don't want to. Like, if you want to ride with us, you have to do this.
I remember that.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, well, if I want to like hang out with my brothers, like I have to keep up. And so that's kind of like how I just kept pushing it. And then wasn't loving the coaches that I was with at the time. So
through the slope style, the big air
moguls.
Moguls, right?
Hated moguls. No harshness on moguls, but it wasn't for me. And when I was part of the mountain specific team, you had to do everything. You had to do moguls, dual moguls, big air, slope style. And I was like, I only want to do big air slope style. And they wouldn't let me. So I was like, this sucks. Mom wrote an email to the coach of the BC freestyle team, like the provincial team, like, oh my gosh. And just pretty much was like, hey, can Cass join the team? And they were like, well, there's like things she has to do. And she was like, no, I think she should join the team. And they're like, okay, you can join the team. And that's pretty much how I got on BC team. And then even with BC team at the time, wasn't discipline specific like it is now. So you still had to do moguls, but at least they were like able to like focus you a bit more. And then I started enjoying slopestyle, and then the head coach of the BC team switched and it became Mike Shaw. And then he was our coach and was kind of like, we don't really care about moguls, so like you don't have to if you don't want to. And I was like, nice. And then he got asked to be the head coach of Canada West, the development team pretty much. And then we were at a contest in California and we were training the slope style and I just could not land a trick. And I was getting so mad. I was just pissed off. And he was like, well, there's a half pipe competition. Like why don't we try that? And I was like, okay, like hadn't really ever been in a half pipe before. And he was like, do a flip. And I was like, really? Yeah, why not? So I just did a flare, landed it, and was like, huh, that's cool. And then he was like, let's enter it. And I was like, okay. And then I won. So I was like the only girl at the time that was doing flares. And
which is pretty impressive. Riding halfpipe, I still to this day, like as a snowboarder,
it's gnarly.
It's incredible.
I do honestly think it's harder on a halfpipe or on a snowboard in the halfpipe than it is on skis. But that's maybe because I'm a skier and like going in on a snowboard, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
But like I came away from that contest with like hematomas on my elbows because I'd do a flare and then I'd catch my elbow on the deck, like on the top of the halfpipe. And so I was just like, whoa, this is gnarly. And then it kind of, every time there was a slopestyle contest, there's usually a halfpipe at the same time. So I'd just start entering the halfpipe contests, and I started making finals at like bigger events and was like, maybe that's something I should look into. And then Mike got asked to be the head coach of the Canada West halfpipe development team, like specifically half pipe.
Yeah.
And he called me and he was like, hey, I just took this job. You're going to be my first athlete on the team. And I was like, okay. Like kind of like made my decision for me.
Yeah.
And then kind of just went from there and just half pipe.
That's crazy. That's so funny that it just like sucked into Mike Shaw so much, and he just it just got lucky that he just brought you along like the whole way.
He fully was like the reason that I took this route.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I actually didn't know that one through Mike Shaw. I knew he was your coach, but I didn't know he'd started that far back.
Yeah, he was. And then 10 years ago, it's coming up on 10 years ago, we were in Colorado and we had trained half pipe that morning. And then the boys went out to Keystone to go just like rip around the park. And I just was like, I'm tired. I don't want to go. And they were doing tricks over at a little wind lip, like where the snow had blown. And he went to do a cork, didn't make it, broke his neck, paralyzed. And then that, like, a few of the boys that were with him kind of just like retired right then and there. We're like, we're done. Like,
really?
Yeah, super spooked. Never really. And I actually think if I had been there too, I think it would have maybe like halted what my like projectile was on.
Yeah. Pretty traumatic.
Super traumatic.
Especially with someone you love.
Yeah.
Like, and there's a very interesting relationship I don't think a lot of people would understand between athlete and coach.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you become like best friends because you, like they push you in like when you're in such a like vulnerable state, you're scared, you don't want to try a new trick. You're like, I need somebody to like encourage me, but also like, you know, like do it.
Yeah.
So like you have this weird, like not quite parent, but like friend. I don't know. It's very interesting, but you're right. Like it's somebody you love and you watch them get hurt like that. And we had to compete the next day at a World Cup. And I just remember like dropping in. I asked him if I could wear his hoodie. So I like dropped in wearing his hoodie. And our assistant coach at the time, Steve, was at the top and he was like, don't think about anything. Like just like ride for Mike. Like don't. And I just remember like bawling my eyes out at the top being like, okay, I just have to compete. Like I just have to be here. And then the next day we went down to the Denver where they had airlifted him and we saw him and always just like the most positive attitude. Like didn't like he's like in a neck brace, like literally can't move from his neck down. And it was just like, whoa, like you feel better seeing him, but then you also have like the realization of like, whoa, like
this is real.
It's real.
Yeah.
And then he'd been there for a few weeks and we had come back to Colorado to do something and we went and saw him. And I was just, this is like one of those moments where you're like, whoa. And he was laying there and he goes, guys, everybody, shh, watch this. We're like, what? And he just like picks up his arm limp and smacks himself in the face. He was like, look at that. We're like, yeah. It's so crazy. And now it's 10 years later and he's going skiing for his...
Sit skiing?
Nope.
Skiing?
Yeah.
He's walking again?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. He ended up walking again like maybe 2 or 3 years after. Like he like worked his way. He worked with Vancouver General Hospital. Like they put him in like, they had him like suspended to the... It was crazy. It's a crazy story. If you ever think, he wrote a book.
I know.
Yeah.
He's quite a inspirational, motivational guy. Like I knew a little, I've known bits and pieces like as it's all kind of happened talking to you, but I didn't realize he was walking again.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Really cool.
Good for him.
Yeah. He's a good guy.
Incredible.
But so anyways, I credit a lot of my momentum on my half pipe career to him.
Yeah. I think it's so important too, like talking to a lot of athletes, like people who have made it and haven't made it, the coach makes such a difference.
Yeah, 100%.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's in people, why'd you leave the program? Coach.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah. And they don't, I mean, I understand that like you have to like push people, but you also have to like baby them a little bit. Like there's like such a balance of like, what's the word when you are authoritarian? Like being like somebody that like is like telling you what to do, but also somebody that's like cushioning you, being like, you don't actually have to do it, but you should do it. Like, there's like a good balance of that.
And it's such different personalities because then you find there's like people who love this coach and do well with this coach and another athlete on the other side who's like, I left the program because of this coach. It's like, isn't that interesting? You know, like how everyone approaches personalities differently.
For sure.
Yeah. So Mike Shaw would have been, what year would we be talking here? Like where are we kind of sitting in your journey around that?
Won that first contest that I entered with him in 2012.
2012.
Yeah.
So this is super.
But I would have been 20.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
I know.
10 years ago.
We're getting old.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that would have been 2012. And then I kept going half pipe. And then the Olympics happened in 2014. It was the first time skiing had done half pipe.
Yeah.
And so I remember me and one of my best friends, Meg, we woke up early. We were in Aspen for the Aspen World Cup. And we woke up at 4 a.m. to watch it. And we were sitting in our hotel room watching it on TV. And we're sitting there. And I just remember thinking, I could be there. I could do that. I could do that. And watching the girls ski, it was just like, for sure. Like, if I like really want to, like, I'm going to be the next ones. And that was kind of like what started me to really like actually like focus and like do it.
Yeah.
And then that May, so Olympics in February, March, April, May, I got the call to be on the national team.
Nice.
Yeah.
And is that like wind sport? I'm always confused about like the wind sport connection to the national team and what you were doing there and how that was all working.
So wind sport was technically like the Canada West development team. Like, like the national team like picks off of the wind sport team, and it's funded as the national development team. Okay. But it's called wind sport.
Got it.
Yeah.
So in just after the 2014 Olympics, we're on national team.
Yeah.
We're going.
Yeah.
And then kind of your first big entrance into the world stage was 2015, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
Which was a World Cup.
Yep. Okay. In France.
Yes.
Was so there's a bit of like some tumultuousness that
some asterisks there. Yeah. I was going to ask you about the asterisks. I was going to let you go and then say, but there is an asterisk there. A lot of people talk about that asterisk.
So I joined the team 2014, trained with them all summer. I hate the gym.
You got huge too.
I got huge.
You got huge too.
I started going to the gym for real. And so I started going to the gym for real. I go to New Zealand. I train down there. I'm like really pushing it. I'm doing everything I can. And I start competing, and in December go to my first dew tour. And I don't even remember what I did there, but the big asterisk is there was a world championships.
In France?
No, in Austria.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. It's in Austria, and it's happening at the exact same time as X Games. And so all the top dogs get invited to X Games. I was not one of those at the time. And so it must have been 6 of the top athletes in the world were at X Games instead of coming to the World Championships. I compete at World Championships. I get second. So much chatter online. It doesn't count. These 6 girls definitely would have beat your run. Like, good for you, but like, doesn't count. Like, I was pissed. I was like, what do you mean? I didn't make the choice for them to not be here. Like, I got second at World Championships, and no, doesn't count. And the next contest was 2 weekends after that in France in teen. And everybody was there, all the top dogs. Like, it was a full contest. And I remember going into it being like, F you guys. Like, I'm going to show you that counted, and I'm going to beat you all. And I went into it like loose cannon, and I made the final. And then I'm going into the final. It's at night, which is my favorite time to compete. Is under the lights, black sky, white snow. You can see everything so much better. And France, for whatever reason, they just die for half pipe.
Really?
It's crazy. People come out there, the biggest crowd, bigger than X Games sometimes. Like, really? And the French come out with chainsaw. They're just, it's huge. It's so exciting. The like energy, and like I was like feeling it. And I probably did the biggest flare I've ever done in my entire life. And a lot of the coaches credit it to be the biggest inverted trick a girl's ever done in the pipe.
Still to this day.
Still.
True.
Yeah. It's
sick.
Wild. Like, clip in that.
It's gonna. We'll get there in the edit.
And then I won, and I beat all of them, and I like threw up the middle fingers and was like,
what now?
Yeah, suck it. Like, sick. This counts, and that counted, and I'll beat you every other day. And I just remember feeling so proud of myself on that one. And like, I've had some huge accomplishments in my career, but I still look back at that one being like, yes, I like when it counted, I was like, yes.
Yeah. Sick. Yeah. I was going to ask you, that was one of my main questions for this one. A question I've never asked you is like, was there ever a time when you were like, this is mine now? like, this is mine. Like, welcome to the Cassie show, everybody. Like, this is mine. Was that the moment?
That one was a big one for me. Like that was like, but like I still wasn't confident that I could consistently beat them. Like that one, I think like I credit it to that huge flare. Like I just like, you know. But then the next season, I broke my back.
Yeah.
And I did it right before Dew Tour. And I remember being like, hey, something's super wrong with my back. And the physio being like, nah, it's just muscular. Like, we'll just do some needles and stuff. And I remember he did needles and I was just bawling my eyes out face down in the bed. And he was like, yeah, you're fine. And I was like, okay, like, if you say so. And then I competed at Dew Tour 2 days after I broke my back. I got second.
Not bad.
Not bad.
Not bad. Good result.
And then we went home for Christmas, and by the end of the 2 weeks that like I wasn't in the gym, I didn't have physio, I wasn't doing anything, I couldn't shoulder check in my car driving. I couldn't tie my shoes. Like I was like, oh my God, this is so gnarly. And then I was telling, like, I had a phone call with them and I was like, something's really wrong. And they were like, oh, it sounds like you just like got stiff because you didn't have physio. And I was like, okay. So then I go to another World Cup and I compete and I was like, okay, something's really wrong. Like I can't do this. And then they were like, fine, we'll do x-rays. We did x-rays. And I'm like, oh yeah, you've broken your back in 2 places, like right in my, oh, it was awful. So like, yeah, I was like, I'm going to skip the next one. I'm going to go home and just like do this.
Yeah.
And then I got my first invite to X Games and it was X Games Oslo.
How soon into this back breaking are we? Like
2 months?
So we're not recovered.
No, we're not recovered. No. And I was like, well, I'm going.
Of course, stubborn. It's X Games.
It's X Games.
You don't say no to X Games.
No, you have to go.
To X Games. Yeah.
And I got a call from our team doctor and he was like, you're not going. And I was like, you guys made me compete 2 days after I broke my back. You guys didn't diagnose this properly. I'm 8 weeks out of this. I'm going. And he was like, you're going to have to sign a waiver of liability saying that you've chosen to ignore the doctor's notice. I was like, fine. Okay.
I'm going.
I will.
Yeah.
And then I went and I won.
Sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had one of those like corset back braces where you like crank it across and like just like holds everything. And I'd train with it. And then I took it off to do my runs and then I'd put it back on. And
you take it off to do your runs?
Yeah. It just was too limiting. Like I was trying to cork and I just like was like, I feel like I can't get where I need to get to. So I took it off for my runs and then I'd get to the bottom, like, okay, and I'd crank it back on. And yeah, that's what I credit to being my like big like FU moment.
That was
I'm on the scene.
Yeah,
Here
yeah.
I am.
This is mine.
Beat me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah.
I like that. I think you got so many of those. You're kind of similar to, I guess, all of the family in this, where it's like, as soon as you give us an enemy or tell me I can't, it's like, now you've made a mistake. You know, like you almost need that like for every contest. Like, you're not gonna win.
Yeah.
It's like, well, now
watch me.
Yeah. Now watch.
Yeah.
That's sick. I like that. And then we recover our back.
Yep.
We recover. Where did you break your thumbs in all of this? Was this after the back?
No, just constantly. There's all the time broken. I did it at X Games once. I did it in France once. I did it in Colorado once. I did it so bad at X Games one time. I like fell and X Games is at night and it's super, super icy. And I just caught it the wrong way and I came down and I was shaking and I was like, I broke my thumb. And they were like, are you sure? I was like, I'm sure, I've done it so many times. They're like, okay. So I took my glove off and they wrapped my thumb and then they put my glove back on and then I put my pole on and then they duct taped my pole to my hand because I don't like how it looks without poles. Like I feel like it's just
cool.
No, it's just
I was
weird.
so wondering.
Yeah.
I know it's just not.
Yeah.
It's not cool.
It's just not for me. And so I got them to duct tape and then I compete with just my 2 fingers out with everything duct taped so that I can still grab. And then I 3 runs at X Games. First run, break my thumb. Second one, I'm still like antsy. I'm like, I don't land a run. And I'm like, oh my God, like I only have 1 run left. And I get to the bottom and I'm crying because I'm so competitive. It hurts. Like it hurts me when
I know you are.
Oh, I'm so competitive. And this one, this is another moment that I think about quite often. And I'm like crying. Mom grabs me by the scruff of the neck and she goes, you take a deep breath right now. And I was like, okay. She goes, hey, you focus. You know you can do this. Stop thinking about the bullshit and just do your run. And I was like, okay? What the hell?
French Canadian really starts coming out,
Yeah, and I was like, oh my God, like you've never yelled at me like this before. And then I went up and I think I ended up on the podium. I don't remember where, but that was like, whoa,
Yeah.
scary, Mom.
Yeah.
But no, I think I've broken my thumbs close to 15 times.
Sick.
And I've had surgery once on this
Just
one.
once? Oh, that's a good ratio.
Yeah,
That's a
right?
Great ratio.
Stunning ratio.
Honestly,
Yeah.
fantastic ratio.
Yeah. This one was because it was more ligaments, but the breaks, it's kind of just like, pop a splint on it and you're fine.
You'll be all right.
Mhm.
You know, there's a funny tie back because you say your first half pipe contest that you went to, you came back with hematomas on both your elbows from hitting the decks.
Yeah.
And you continued to not learn from that for your entire career.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard though. Like you've got like this angle and it's like land right here or you're screwed.
Yeah.
It's like, well, sometimes you hit the deck, sometimes you land low. And like, that's what makes half pipes super freaking hard. It's like, you just can't, I'm so bad at math, but you've got a mathematic equation to land perfectly here or you're screwed.
Yeah. I don't think any normal human could ever understand pipes.
It's so gnarly.
It's so impossible. And like, I remember the first time it was Calgary. I think the whole family came out and we walked under the fence because everyone was like, oh, pipe. And I was like, no, you got to stand on the deck.
Yeah.
And we were standing on the deck with the whole family and they were like, what? In like, you can't, you really, and I mean, for anyone listening at home, it's 22 feet tall. There's what, 6 feet of vert in it, 8 feet of vert, 90 degrees. Yeah, I don't know either. I've cut a bunch of pipes in my lifetime too. It's so insane. And whenever I watch like the X Games or a World Cup or a Dew Tour, I always am waiting for some kind of a feature where it's like a 5-minute breakdown of just like multiple angles, people standing there, like shots over the deck and just being like, please explain to people how insane, like I can get about that high out of a pipe and it feels like you're like what you guys do. Like when you properly get out of the pipe, it must
crazy.
It must be
so fun. But the thing is like when I first started doing it, I didn't understand I really didn't understand. And like when each pipe can be so different based off of who cuts it. So you have a machine that sits like this and it has a blade all the way down it and they just run up and down it. It goes and it cuts the wall. But if they like accidentally have it too far this way, you're shooting out onto the deck. So you have to pop to land back. Or if they have it too far this way, you're landing at the bottom. Like it like depends on who cuts it. It also depends on like every hit is different because it's just so variable. And like, that's why we go 3 days before a contest to ride that half pipe, because if there's any little spot, we like talk to the cutter, be like, this one's too undervert and this one's too over. Like, and you have to figure it out. Yeah.
Pipe's so wild.
Yeah.
I have so much respect for pipe riders of both discipline. Like whenever I'm watching a pipe contest and like, it's only because I know, because I've been in pipes, because I've seen pipe. I've put my edges in a pipe. So I know how gnarly it is, but it's one of those things I wish you could portray to people sitting at home. Cause
I think the biggest thing, like you say, standing at the top and looking into it. But a lot of the times I'll take somebody and I'll make them walk up the bottom and just stand and look up at the walls, because from where you're standing in the middle to the top is 22 feet. So you're essentially looking up like a story, like 1-story building.
Yeah.
Like you're maybe even story and a half. Like you're looking up high and you don't realize how big it is when you're moving through it, because you're moving through it. Yeah, you do. Yeah, I don't anymore, but it's like one of those things that like when you're moving, it's like, yeah, you're just moving. But then when you like, even for me, when I stand in it and I look at it, I'm like, whoa, this is big.
They're huge.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So wild.
Yeah.
So wild. So we're going to keep moving through your career trajectory.
Okay.
So we've hit our 2016 X Games gold.
Yep.
Now we're pre-Olympic year.
Yeah.
Do you want to explain Olympic qualification for the half pipe team at all, and like how that kind of works and like where we're kind of sitting with all that? Yeah.
Okay. So for Olympic qualification, it's all under one umbrella for freestyle skiing. So freestyle skiing is big air, slopestyle, half pipe, ski cross, and aerials. I know, it's very weird.
They just snuck themselves in there with the cool kids. Like what? Like,
so under that umbrella of the 5 disciplines, you have 26 spots. Each discipline itself can't have more than 4 male, 4 female.
Right.
However, the way it breaks down is you're competing against all those disciplines. So if I got 4th, 6th, and 8th, and somebody from ski cross got 3rd, 6th, and 8th, they would go over me. Even though they just got 1 spot better, they've technically qualified higher than me. So the year before, you can qualify in the A umbrella. And the A umbrella is a podium at a World Cup, a podium at Due Tour X Games or World Championships, and then a top 8.
Yeah.
So you have to get those 3 things specifically to qualify under
A-level umbrella. Yeah. When that means you're going.
And that's you're going.
You're going.
And you can do that the year before.
So 2017 for the 2018 Olympics.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
And then if you don't do that, B umbrella is you have to make a final at a World Cup and you have to get a podium at a World Cup, and you can do that the year of. And then that'll take like, say that takes 15 people. Then there's the C umbrella, which you have to make it into 2 finals, one of them being a top 8. Something like that. Like it tiers down. Like there's so many other things like that. Like, but like to make like dumb it down, that's essentially what it is.
Yeah. So what you're saying is if there's only 2 people going in the A umbrella, then they look at the B umbrella, then they look at the C umbrella. But it gets viciously competitive.
Yes, especially for the last like 4 spots, because like I said, if you're 1 spot different, like last year as an example, one of my teammates, he had to get 6th at this event, and he knew he had to get 6th. And he got 7th. So he didn't go, like it really gets gruesome at the end on you. Like, what you have to do and you just don't do it. And it's harsh.
Yeah. It's crazy too. Like it just hurts so bad. And it hurts watching someone go through it, no matter at what level you know them at, whether they're a casual acquaintance or not. And you're talking to them over dinner and they're like, I'm going to this next contest and I got to get 5th. And you're like, oh, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
and it too, going into it, like that pressure that like I get chattery about it, like just thinking about it. Like it's so stressful.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess it kind of sucks too, because you start out so casual in your season and you're like, everything will be fine.
No
and then by the last 2 contests, you're like crunching numbers and you're like, if this guy gets this position and that guy gets that position and like,
I have to do this, or they have to fall, or this has to happen. And you're not ever wishing for somebody's downfall, but like, you're like, if he doesn't make the final, like I'm in, so you're watching ski cross when you would never watch ski cross. You're like, ooh, what are they doing?
It's weird they stuck themselves in there. You'd think they'd be completely different disciplines.
They should be under racing, like
for sure.
Racing. They should be GS, like,
because they are ski racing.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I don't know.
Fists, man.
I know, it's funny.
Oh God, we can have a whole other conversation about fists. Yeah. So did you get right through for 2017? Were you on the bubble, or were you just A-level? I'm going.
A-level, I'm going.
Because you were kind of it was yours at that point.
Yeah, I knew it.
Super yours.
Yeah, I think I did it within like before the season was over. Like it was first 3 contests, I did exactly what I needed to do, and I was like, I'm going.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So it was easy.
Yeah, so I qualified no problem for 2018.
Yeah.
And then training, we go. 2018 is coming up. Stressful. So stressful.
I can only imagine.
Because I think especially going into 2018, everybody's like, oh, she's got it. Oh, she's going to win. No problem. And you're like, well, am I? Like, what if I don't? Like, it was like, I felt like I was like, I could do this, but also like I had to stop reading articles. Like I had to stop looking up things. I'd get tagged on something on Facebook or Instagram, and I was like, I can't look at it. Like I'd save it to like look at it after the fact, but I was like, I actually can't. And one came out from CBC and it was like, Sharpe, qualified for Olympics, shoe in to win. And I was like, really, am I? How do you know that?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That expectation's got to be almost tougher than going in as the underdog, where no one's expecting anything from you.
Because then you come up and you're like, oh, I did it. And like with this one, I was like, yeah, for sure. It was really stressful.
I can only imagine. A lot of expectation. I think expectation's hard.
It's crazy.
And people always say, oh, don't put any expectations on yourself. Yeah. And then you have like literally an entire country's expectation, like an entire country, like CBC's our biggest news media out here, like,
she's a shoo-in.
She's gonna win it for sure.
Like there's an article where it was like top, like Canada's top 6 athletes to win, and I was like, oh, really? I don't want to be in there. Like, don't put me in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's crazy to do that. And then once you get, like, it was in Korea, which is the best. I loved it. It was so much fun. And then it was nice, like the whole fam came.
That was really
It
good.
was
Yeah.
so good.
Some of my favorite
like-
memories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's like 13 of us.
It was a
out
huge
there.
crew.
Yeah, it was amazing. And that was like so special. And then, yeah, I don't even know where to go from there.
You
But
can't skip over the Olympics.
No, I know.
You can't go over that fast. You can't go over it that fast. I know you're trying to get past it here, but you can't skip over it that fast. What did you
Okay,
like so much
so-
about Korea, first of all? Because you've been there. Because before an Olympic
yeah.
event, they always do a World Cup. So you,
Yeah,
you
so
had
the
some
test.
experience
Yeah.
in Korea and being
Yeah.
there. And I actually came out for that first test.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun.
So fun.
Um,
The mountains, nothing to write home about. It's kind of like, I would compare it to Ontario.
yeah.
Kind of like chalky snow, not super big hills, but the pipe that they built was amazing. It was one of my favorite half pipes. Like, I don't know if it's because they kind of built it into the ground instead of building it up above the snow, so it felt huge. Like, it was so cool. And then we loved going to like the hot baths, like the where we stayed before the Olympics. Like, I'd been there 2 times before. And like the hot baths were so fun, and like driving around the country, went to the coast. The people are so nice. And we went clubbing one time and it was super fun. Yeah, it was just like such a good culture.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that was great. And then you go for the Olympics, and all the volunteers, sweetest little things. Like, it was so fun. Like, they were just always just like doting over you, wanting to take pictures with you, like even before winning. Like, they were just so sweet. So then qualifying day comes up. That's more stressful to me than the final.
Getting there.
It's like getting into the final, because it's like, if you don't make the final, well,
Came
better.
nothing.
Yeah, good try.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's so harsh. Like literally qualifiers is like, I'm sweating. But like, I can't eat. Like, I can't think, I can't drink. Like, my coach Trennan, he like pretty much like force fed me a granola bar, because he was like, you're gonna pass out. Like, you need to eat something. And I remember like eating it. Oh, it's so dry, and like trying to drink water to like put food in my system. Like, so stressful.
Was this just all? This has got to be all the pressure, like going in.
Yeah,
as
like
well.
yeah, and then,
Especially when you're considered the shoe-in.
yeah, and
Don't make
can't-
qualies.
Yeah, imagine.
Yeah.
Oh, so harsh. And then I remember dropping to my first run, and like, there's just this thing that happens, and some people call it the flow state, but there's just this thing that happens. Like, I feel like I'm gonna poop myself. I feel like I'm gonna throw up. I can't eat, and then it's like, Cassie, you're on deck, and you're like my body like freaks out. You clip into your skis, and then it's like, okay, like, get ready. And so you pull into the front starting, and you're standing there, and you've got your coach, and he's like, all right, you got this. We trained for this. Like, do it. And you're like, okay, yeah, we did. I can. Yeah. And then I'm like, okay, I crank my music, 2 headphones. I don't like hearing the crowd. I don't like hearing the announcer. I don't even want to hear my skis on the snow. Like, I cranked music. And you slide down a tiny bit, and I'm standing there. Okay, it's just me. Like, there's nobody else to blame but yourself. Like, you got to do this. Like, go, go, go. And you drop in, and like, I don't remember the run. I don't remember anything. Like, I just remember like, okay, that's my next hit. Okay, flare. Okay, like, here it comes. Like, everything, you've memorized it. You've done it a million times. And I landed the first run, and it threw me into first place. And I was like, okay, like, okay,
We're good.
yeah, I
We're
can
good.
relax. Like, even if that doesn't qualify me in the top spot, I can fall my next 2 runs, and I'll still make it into the final. So
Yeah.
it's like, you kind of just like take a breath, and you're like, okay, I'm fine.
I mean,
Everything's okay.
you were so dominant at that point.
Yeah.
Going into those Olympics, I mean, yes, the media says, oh, she's a shoo-in, and you're like concerned about it, but you were, I mean, I don't even think anyone watching this, if they haven't followed your career, could understand how dominant. And we've skipped over it quite a bit here, but like, you were so dominant going into those Olympics. You probably could have done your D run and still been qualifying first. Like,
Yeah.
that was a whole different level of women's skiing, where it was like, holy, you were like the Max Verstappen of female halfpipe skiing at that time. It was crazy.
Yeah.
It was crazy to watch. Like,
Hey, thanks.
and just be like, holy, she is wiping the floor with people right now.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that was wild.
It was crazy. And I even like, I think I recognized it at the time, being like, I just like, there was a couple girls that were like, I was watching them like try to do the same corks that I was doing, because whatever I was doing was working. The judges were liking it. And I remember watching them and being like, whoa, like, why is it just happening for me? Like I like obviously put in a lot of work and a lot of effort and a lot of time and go to the gym and do all the things. But I was like, why is it clicking for me the way that it's like not clicking for everyone to catch up as quickly as I got there? And I still don't know what to credit that to. Like, was it the trampoline training? Was it Trennan pushing me? Was it going to the gym? Was it just the fact that I grew up with you guys and like you guys bullied me into doing things? So it's like now I've got my teammates bullying me into doing things. Like, like, is it just like the way that I react to pressure? Like, I still don't know like why I was so dominant at that time.
That's interesting. I think it definitely has a lot to do with how much you, at least watching you ski with the team, anytime I was with the team, you always skied with the boys versus the girls on the team would ski with the girls on the team. You would generally go ski with the boys on the team.
Yeah.
And I think that probably like just with the difference in level between, female halfpipe skiing and male halfpipe skiing, especially at that time, you seemed to be chasing those guys versus the girls all chasing each other.
Right.
And I always found that really interesting, like watching the training sessions.
Yeah. And I wonder if that like credits to like growing up with brothers and like just wanting to be with the boys. And like I felt more comfortable with the boys. Yeah. So I wonder if that had anything to do with it. But
I think another crazy thing that you talked about there that I suffer with a lot is I can't remember a single contest run in my life.
No.
It's a wild thing when you get to the bottom and you're like, what did I just do? What did I just do?
Yeah.
And it all
works out. But
I mean, I'm not on that level. Like your run clearly worked out a lot better than any of mine, but like, it's a wild feeling.
It's crazy. And like, even like the song playing, like
it blacks out. Yeah.
I don't hear it. Like I know that I'm not hearing anything else, but like, I'm definitely not like singing along. Like, it's just, I'm just so in it that like, I don't even, I couldn't tell you what song I was listening to. It's like,
next question.
So at that time, the one that I would put on when I was like prepping was Annie Up and that
Oh, sick. MOP, Annie Up. That is a good track. Yeah.
So like that would be like me bopping my head at the top and then I'd drop in and it'd be gone. Yeah. But like that's the hype up that I was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after qualies, go home. You sleep all that night? Sleep before finals?
No, don't sleep. But you know what was cool was that when we moved into the Olympic Village, the moguls team had just left and we moved into their room. Yeah. And on the door, I'd moved into Mick Kingsbury's room and he had just won double gold. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to do it. Really? I'm going to gold as well. Like, and I remember like, I sent him a video being like, it was good juju in this room. And he was like, hell yeah.
Sick.
Yeah. Which was funny, but yeah, no, didn't sleep at all. Like I remember even taking a melatonin because I was like, I need to sleep, but nope, wide awake. And then wake up the next morning, almost throw up. Like still, like, it's like, it's the Olympics. Like it's the biggest thing we're ever going to do. And so get to the hill, train. Like I remember having like not the best training. Like I couldn't get into it. I was like so nervous and like the crowd was really big, which I wasn't like, you're not used to that. Like women's halfpipe skiing, like it's not like a headliner, like nobody's, so I remember it being the biggest crowd and like looking down and being like, whoa, like that's a lot. But then again, dropped into my run, nailed it and was like, okay, like
let's go.
Like I feel like I'm on the podium with that run. Like I'm good. That's all good. And then I dropped into my next run and I did the cork 10 at the bottom.
Which was huge for women's halfpipe skiing at the time.
Yeah. Big. And then
you always had a good headbang on that trick. You had a good after bang on that trick.
Yeah. It was a good one.
That was crazy watching from the bottom.
Yeah.
That's a wild one.
I did claim at the bottom. Wow. And then that one bumped my first score up. And then I kind of felt strongly that was going to put me on the top of the podium. And so because I had qualified first into the final, I dropped last. And so the last person to go before me was Mary Martineau, and she was already sitting in second, so she was
And
the only.
Your second run did put you in first.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. You went over that. So So our second run did put us into first.
Yeah,
It was a big run with a big score. So you went back up to the top, sitting in the first spot.
Yeah. So then I watched all the other girls go, kind of like nervous a little bit, because anybody at any time could just come out of nowhere and just bump me down. Even though I still had another run, it was like, oh, it feels good to just be secured. And so it comes down to the last person to drop before me, who's Mary Martineau. She's in second, and she's kind of the last person that can bump me out of the top spot. And she goes and she tries to do a 10. And it was like, it was coming around. It was right there. Like, she was so close. And then she just slips out and falls. And in that moment, you're like, I won the Olympics. Like, that's crazy. And I remember looking at Trennan, and he starts crying, and I was like, no, don't cry. Because I'll cry. I still have one more run. Like, don't, like, it's okay. Like, and it was crazy, because it's just like, now I have to go do one more run after, like, I know that I won. Like, it's just like, and I hate the hero run where people just do straight airs. And I was like, I'm not going to do that. Like, I'm going to try and do my run. And so I think I did a right cork 9, and then I went to do a left cork 9, which is like my staple trick, and I fell on it, and I was
you
like,
went so high.
Yeah,
you went so. I remember watching, like, I was like, she go.
Yeah, like, let's go.
And you went so fast into it, and you went so high. And I was like, whoa, whoa.
Yeah.
Like,
and so I fell on that, but then, like, I was like, damn, I don't want to end my Olympic run with a fall. So then I was like, let's go, and I tried to catch my speed, and then I did the cork 10 at the bottom, just to really, really just exclamation mark, and then I landed, and then the girls come and big hugs, and it was like, wow, like, crazy. And then I really wanted to come run to you guys, like, run to the family. Like, that was like where I wanted to go. And they were like, no, you have to do the media first. And I was like, no, like, I want to go to see my family. They're like, no. And so I had to do like 25 minutes of like the media corral, and everybody's like, does it feel real yet? And I was like, no, because I haven't seen my family. And they were like, okay. And then I just remember getting to the family and like dropping everything, running over, like, big group hug with everybody. And it was just like, that was like the,
there it
is.
Yeah.
Like, I did it. Which was really cool. But then drug testing.
Oh, I love this story.
I had to go into drug testing, and because I don't eat, I don't drink, there's nothing in my system. I've only chugged water all day, and not even that much. And so they pull you in, and you immediately just start chugging as much water as you can, because you're like, I've got to do this. But because it doesn't dilute with anything else, nothing, I was just peeing straight water pretty much.
Yeah.
And it has to be like a certain...
Yeah, there's got to be the right mixture of things so they can actually test to see if you were
And so when you're peeing water, they're not getting anything out of it, so you have to sit there for 45 more minutes, try again. Of course, it's water again, so you sit for another 45 minutes. And I was like, somebody give me a beer. And they're like, really? I was like, yep.
Why not?
You've already done my twice, like, I wasn't drinking alcohol during the contest. One, that wasn't going to help me. Two, it's not like a stimulant, it's not doing anything.
Yeah.
So they ended up getting me beers. So I drank a couple of beers by myself in drug testing, missed the boys qualifying because I couldn't leave.
Yeah.
And then the third time they were like, oh, it's good. And I was like, perfect.
I knew that.
It's good.
I could have told you that. Don't do any performance enhancing drugs.
Yeah. We're all good.
Yeah.
And then I left, and then you guys had gone to our favorite Korean barbecue spot.
Well, wait, you went into the press conference after that, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
And I specifically remember a clip somewhere of you sitting down at the press conference and being like, hey, everyone, so I've had a couple of beers, so let's keep these questions light, know?
Yeah. And one of my favorite photos is I called one of my girlfriends, and I'm sitting there alone up at the top, just like, I won the Olympics. Like, a couple of beers deep. Very fun and funny. And I feel like I'm even more, like, I'm honest, and like I can do interviews better when I got a couple of beers in me. So it was all really good. Like, it was super fun. And then, and then you guys go to that Korean barbecue spot. I'm in the car, and I really just wanted to be with you guys. I didn't want to go do these interviews. Like, I didn't want to go to the big media dome. I didn't, it just feels like, of course I have to do that stuff. But I was like, can I go eat with my family? And they're like, no. And I was like, okay. So I remember I called mom and I was like, Mom, I'm driving by the restaurant right now.
That's right. Yeah.
Come outside, like, come wave at me. And she was like, yep. And she just hung up, like, probably yelled at you guys, like, everybody outside right now. And you guys all got up, all came outside. Like, I think the people that were working at the restaurant, like, thought you guys were dipping out on the bill. But I remember driving by, like, I filmed it. It's one of my favorite videos. And it's like, there's like 10 of you on one side of the road, like 5 of you on the other side of the road. And I'm standing up, leaning out the window, and you guys are all screaming and clapping and cheering. And like that video, like to me is like, that was my Olympic gold medal. It was like, you guys like all just like, I was like, wow, like I did it. Like, this is amazing. And that was like the coolest part. Like, was like, I couldn't be with you guys, but it was like, I knew the area enough to be like, come outside.
Yeah, I'm there. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy the circus they run you through right after.
Oh, it's wild.
No moment.
No, it's just nuts.
You know the story of Uncle Gord mooning the bus driver, right?
I don't know, but tell me again.
Okay. So you called.
Yeah.
And you're like, everyone come outside.
Yeah.
Gord and a couple of the other family had gotten on this. Cassie won, Cassie won. So Gord and the family had gotten on a bit of the sauce. And then there was a car coming by, like a little minibus. And Gord just immediately assumed it was you. And just being our Uncle Gord, he dropped his pants and mooned the guy. And as the bus comes by, it's just some Korean guy, like, so that poor guy, I think about him all the time.
Oh my gosh. Again, one of the, like, so then we do the medal ceremony later that night after all the craziness, and you guys were all there, and I like come out and I like finally have the medal, and like we're taking pictures and everything, and like mom and dad are crying, and I just remember Gord being so sauced up, and it was the best. And then later that night, mom sent me a video of him just like stumbling, walking down the street, and like I think it was Uncle Jeff, like, come on, get off the road. Like,
yeah.
Oh, it was so good.
Because you were sponsored by Zuma, right? And they had which is a Japanese ski company.
Yeah.
Shout out Zuma Skis.
Yeah.
And they're either the owner and his son or
Sue.
Yeah.
Yeah. They came out.
Yeah, they were with us.
Yeah.
And we went to this, oh my God.
It was a good time.
So there was like this bar that was like the Canadian celebratory bar kind of thing, right? So we went to this bar and they had a bunch of bottles of champagne there. And I can't remember who, it was like the Canadian figure skating icons, something like that. They had won a medal that day.
Tessa and Scott.
I think so.
Yeah.
I can't be quoted on this, but I'm very confident.
I'm very confident with them because Deb made me take a photo of her with them.
Oh, yeah?
I was like,
sick.
What about me?
So we got in there and they had all these bottles like kind of laid out, champagne bottles for the whole family. And the family got in there and like properly went hard, like popped the bottles and just sprayed everywhere. Yeah. And someone's like grandma was right behind us and she's just sitting there getting absolutely doused in champagne, and everyone else was pretty sauced. And for some reason I was like, well, someone's got to be responsible. I guess it'll be me, Justin was pretty reasonable too, but he was being a mess as well.
Yeah.
And I remember going up to the grandma and being like, I'm so sorry about that. Everyone's just like really excited. And she was like, oh yeah, my family's won a couple medals as well. We know how it is. And I was like, oh, a couple?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Nice. And that's why I think it was the figure skating couples grandma. Yeah. Anyways, Gord was sauce. Everyone really celebrated that one. That was huge.
The best. And then this is going to be another insert clip here.
Sick.
But when we went out to actually party after, once the boys were done, we went to, I don't know, an underground bar, and we were all like so drunk. And like, I remember one of our friends, I don't know how X-rated we want to get, but
we can cut it if it's too bad. We'll see what YouTube monetization has to say about it. YouTube.
She was like, let's do a shot. And I was like, okay. And so I like go buy us all tequila shots, and we all cheers and we all take the tequila shots. And I just remember looking over at her, and she like takes a shot. Immediately it comes back up and she just pukes all over my feet. And I was like, what the hell, Kendra? Like, don't, like, get out of here.
You're cut.
What are you doing?
You're done.
And then we like, the only thing that was bad about Korea was the transportation. It was a nightmare to get anywhere, to get to and from. And we all, like the team pretty much, we all rented little cabins, like pretty close to the bar, so we could just walk and just go home. And you were...
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right.
We were leaving. Okay, so we were about to leave the bar. I'm sitting, we're just saying bye to people, and I get a tap on my shoulder. And I look over my shoulder, and it's Doug, and he goes, this is the best kebab I've ever had in my life. And I was like, no way. He's like, let's go get more. It's like, okay. So we grab the whole crew. We go up to the kebab shop and I was like, 15 kebabs. And we buy the kebabs and we're waiting for the kebabs. And I have this video of Doug with two kebabs in his hand. Insert clip, 2 kebabs. Simon and him dancing, kebab dancing. And it was one of the best. And then we were like, okay, we're going to walk back to the cabins. Where are you going? And you were like, well, I don't know. I'll get a cab. And I was like, well, you can't get a cab. Like, there's no transport. And like, I'll find a car. I was like, you're not going to sleep in a car. Like, come stay with me and Justin. We have a cabin. Like, and you're like, no, I'm not doing that. I was like, yes, you are. And you're like, oh, okay, I'll walk with you guys back to where we're going. Okay. So we walk back to where we're going. And then we get into the cabin and you're like, okay, bye. I'm like, where are you going? I don't know. I'm like, okay, bye. Like, I'm not winning this argument. So then you put on music and you just eating a kebab, walking around the complex.
Yeah.
And then I hear you come by again and I open the door. I'm like, Doug, you get in here right now. And you're like, okay. And so you come in and this was my favorite thing was you unloaded all your pockets. You just took everything out of your pockets, threw it on the ground, and then took your pants off to get into bed. And I was like, why did you
still do that?
Yeah, why did you empty your pockets?
Just one thing.
It was so funny. And one of my favorite photos is both you and Justin laying on the mattresses, because in Korea it's just mattresses on the floor.
Yeah.
And it's you and Justin and you're both in your boxers and you're both face down just out.
I felt bad. I was like, she just won a gold medal. Obviously she wants to hang out with her boyfriend and not have me like sleeping in their bed as well.
So funny.
You must remember first I found the kitchen. You've missed a whole part of that story.
I don't remember.
Oh yeah, because I found the kitchen inside of that little cabin complex.
Yes.
And I sent you a text that was like, I'm gonna sleep on the floor in the kitchen, and you were like, no,
you will not.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Not sleeping on the floor in the kitchen. I think we talk more about partying at the Olympics.
Yeah, it's the best stuff.
That is like the best part after a contest. You know, it's so stressful and like
it's like you finally get to just like celebrate. And like when I think like the way that like freestyle skiing is going now, it's a lot more they're athletes and they're going to the Olympics, and yeah, like that's what the goal is. Whereas when I first started skiing halfpipe, it was more like, let's all have a good time, we're all friends, everybody's homies, and then whoever wins, 10% rule, we're going to the club after.
What's the 10% rule?
10% rule is when you get first or second or third, kind of anybody on the podium, you win 10 grand for getting first. $1,000 of that is going to the club. And you're buying everybody drinks, you're buying dinner for everyone, everybody sits down together, like everybody, like all the countries, like Korea, US, Canada, New Zealand, like all of us, we're all together, we're all buddies, and we're all partying after. And it's kind of just like, that was the best part for me. It's like that culture of us all being friends, and like that's how I met my husband, is like just being able to like relax and party and be having a good time. Like, and of course, like sometimes, like I remember my first win, like you don't get paid the money right away. Like it takes a few weeks. And I remember I didn't have $1,000 in my bank account. Like I was like, I don't have this money to do this, but like I'm putting it on credit cards. Like we're doing it because, you know, like that 10% rule was like such a culture to us. Like everybody congratulates you in like 10% rule, and like you're hugging and you're like, yeah, 10% rule. You're like 10% rule.
I hate
I love the 10% rule. I was such a bully for the 10% rule. And at one point I remember like I was, this is not to sound too cocky, but I was winning so much that like everybody, like I'm so happy to like buy everybody dinner, but then you get to the club and people would come up to you to be like, let's go get a drink, like buy me a drink. I'm like, for sure, I'll buy you one. But then like it was like I'd be spending my whole night at the bar like buying people drinks.
Yeah.
Because I was a bully for it. I'm gonna like stand true to that. But at one time I was just like, I can't be at the bar all the time. So I took out a bunch of cash, and anytime somebody was like, buy me a drink, I'd just give him a 20. Like, go get yourself a drink. I don't want to leave my spot.
Baller.
So funny. I was like, that's what it is right now.
That's a baller.
Yeah, it was really funny.
I got 10% in my first YouTube check.
Love that.
The boys 10%ed me on my first YouTube check.
That's the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I don't remember anyone else ever 10%. I got to start calling some of the other boys like, some of the boys are doing pretty well right now, like getting some sponsorships, and some editing money. And like, I tried to call 10%, and everyone all of a sudden like, oh, I didn't make that much. Yeah. Well, you know, I got this and I got that. I'm like, oh, I remember taking everyone out for like, and that's why I say like, I hate the 10% rule because I'm pretty down on it. Like I like it as a rule. It's just everyone has to be down on it, or else you end up being the only one that 10%. And you're like, hey, it's your turn to 10. You just made a check. Let's go 10%. Come on.
That's the thing. Is like as soon as like the generation that was in the national team before me, like I kind of caught the tail end of them, like the Matt Marquettes, the Justin Dory, the Mike Riddle, like those boys, like they were hard on the 10% rule. They were in the glory days of halfpipe skiing. Like they were in like the Tanner Hall days, you know, like where everybody's just like always getting messed up and like going to the clubs. And that's like the best thing. And I caught the tail end of that. And then the kind of the younger ones coming up, like they start winning and they're a lot more reluctant on the 10% rule because it's more like, it's more athletes, it's more focused, it's more, whereas like for us, we were just in for a good time.
You're
and then,
skiing.
yeah. And then it kind of like, it evolved into being the Olympics and it evolved into being more structured. And, but I'll always die for the 10% rule. I love the 10% rule.
Okay. Well, hopefully everyone listens to this 10% rule for your friends, everybody.
You gotta do it.
All right. So other than partying at the Olympics, you came home.
Yeah.
And you made an interesting choice because I feel like there's two ways you can go after an Olympic win.
Mm-hmm.
There's like you can kind of go like the Mark Spitz, you know, like Chloe Kim, I guess, is like a great example of this, where you become a personality, or you can do your couple round of interviews, you can do your couple TV spots, and then just be like a normal everyday person.
Yeah.
And you chose to be the normal everyday person, more or less. And like, not that you didn't stop skiing or anything like that, but I'm curious where your head was at with that one, where you were like, you must have had the opportunities to kind of go more into the public sphere or into that kind of media zone. And what was your head at for that?
I think because, like I say, like right after the win, you go into this media circus and then you go into this media circus and then you come home to Canada. And I flew right to Toronto and I went into this media circus and it was just like so many interviews, so many questions. Actually, really funny. The one that pissed me off the most, insert clip.
Name drop.
Liz Swaney.
Liz Swaney. Oh, Liz.
It's, I feel like I can say it now because I wasn't allowed back then. I was media trained to not even acknowledge it because
of course.
I just can't be controversial. But now we're on the Dougie Sharpe podcast.
Yeah, we can do whatever we want out here.
And so this girl somehow got herself into the Olympics for Hungary.
Okay, we're gonna talk about this.
Might as well.
Oh my God. Okay, yes, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this.
So she is from California. She has a crazy background. She like ran for governor of California. She's now doing ninja
American
hero.
Warrior.
Yeah, whatever that is. She's ran a couple marathons now. She used to be in skeleton trying to go to the Olympics. Somehow got into half pipe. And her grandma's from Hungary, so she made this Hungary team and qualified for the Olympics. This girl cannot ski half pipe. She doesn't know how. She just, you know the meme where it's like, let's put one average person into every category so you can see what a normal person would look like doing this sport. That was Liz Swaney.
Yeah.
And so she made all the headlines. She dominated every interview I did. They asked me about Liz Swaney. Everything and I wasn't allowed to say how I felt. I just she followed the qualifications and she got into the Olympics and good for her. That was kind of all I was allowed to say. And I remember her doing an interview and they were like, well, you just like went down the half pipe and you didn't do any tricks. And she was like, well, I did a trick. I did a 360. And if you watch her run, insert clip, she literally just skirts around on the ground. She doesn't get out of it's crazy to me. And so the IOC has actually changed rules to never let that happen again.
Really? They did?
Mm-hmm.
They did, because it was such a...
It was so controversial. And people are like, how did this woman get here?
Yeah.
And I think like that dominated so much of the media that I was doing that it just like put a sour taste in my mouth. And I was like, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't want to not be allowed to say what I think and not be allowed to actually like, I was being so like confined that I was just like, I don't want to do this. And I kind of just like faded out from it. Cause I was like, well,
cool. Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if we were going to be able to talk about that or not. It was such a black stain on skiing and the Olympics.
Yeah.
And just everything
like, how did that happen? How did they let that happen?
And the fact that you could just work the system that way.
Yeah.
Like just manipulate the system so that.
And I I think she doesn't even think that she did that.
No,
Like,
she just wanted to be an Olympian.
Yeah.
That's all she wanted.
That's it.
Was just the tag of I'm an Olympian. Yeah.
But anyways.
Yeah.
So that's really, I think, like that part is like where I like didn't like doing media, because I felt like it was so, you were behind a cover. You couldn't actually say what you wanted to say. You couldn't do what you wanted to do. And I think even after 2022, like I had the option to go to Toronto to do it again. And I was like, I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was doing it because I'm competitive and I love sport and I like the butterflies and the adrenaline it gives me. Like I wasn't doing it because I want to be the host of Big Brother, you know? Like, yeah.
Shout out Gus Kenworthy.
Yeah, exactly.
And when did it hit? Like, when did it hit? When was the moment that it hit? Because I think this is something only you can experience in sport, or I've never, where you finally sit down, you go to a contest and everything feels fine. And then you finally sit down on the couch and you just go, oh, like when did it finally hit?
So after I went to Toronto, I came home. I was home for like 2 days. And then me, mom, and dad went to the island, back to where I grew up, Mount Washington. And we went up and did this whole big thing on the island.
Right.
And we went to Crown Isle, which is a golf course. And they had this big banquet hall. And it was like, come and meet Cassie night. And like mom had made banners and I brought the medal and like kids like took pictures with it and blah, 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 blah. The next day we went up Mount Washington and I did like a ski with Cassie run. And we pretty much went up the Eagle, the main chair, and then we came down and I like skied with like a Canada flag and there was like a bunch of kids and like the Mount Washington Freestyle Club and like one of the old coaches that was there and like Mike Manera, like our guy growing up, and I skied down the run and I skied right into like a press conference. So I went pretty much like to a podium outside Mountain Tech and it was like all happening and it was so much like feelings and I was like, whoa, this is crazy. And then they changed the name of Go for Gold to Cassie's Gold. And I was like, whoa, like that's crazy. That's huge. Like who gets a run named after them? Like that's crazy. So it was like this huge like realization that like so many people really followed this. Like it wasn't just me. Like it was like our hometown, it was our family, it was our friends, it was this big thing. And that I think was like the moment that I kind of recognized. But then that came with a huge, from being high to like huge low. And I think I was just running on fumes. Like I had been in Toronto, I'd been onto the island, I'd been with family, I'd been with friends, we partied in Whistler, like we did this huge thing. And then there was like this big, after the press conference, there was this huge lineup of kids to like take pictures with the medal, say hi to me. And I was signing autographs with a Sharpie and like doing all this stuff. And I think I was just like so overrun with like emotions. And I had, to me, like, I don't want to just wear my medal and let people like look at it. Like I want them to hold it. I want them to touch it. I want them to try it on. I want all this. So I had been passing the medal back and forth between signing helmets and signing stuff. And I got Sharpie on the front of the ribbon and I like saw it and I like immediately stopped and I turned around to mom and I just started bawling my eyes out and she goes, what? And I was like, I got it. Sharpie got on my medal. And she was like, that's okay. We'll get it out. Are you okay? I was like, can you stop all the kids lining up? Like I'm done. And she was like, okay. So I like signed the last couple kids that had already been in line. And then I like pulled myself together, like, just like, hey, okay. And then keep going. And then we like started, I was like, can we go get a drink? She was like, yeah. And so we like were walking back from Mountain Tech to the lodge. It's not that far. And I stopped kind of halfway, full breakdown to the point that dad held me and I just sobbed into his chest, like him holding me up pretty much. And it was just like, I think it was just like such a come down of all the emotions of like the whole thing, It's only been like 2 weeks since I had won the medal. And he like kissed me on the forehead and he was like, you're okay. Yeah, I'm okay.
It's impressive it took 2 weeks. Yeah. That was kind of my question is how long did that take? Because it's such a...
Yeah, it's a whirlwind.
It's such a whirlwind. Yeah. Like 2 weeks is pretty impressive. It wasn't like on a plane or like even a little before that. It took 2 weeks for it to hit.
Yeah. And then I like, again, like deep breath, pull myself together. We go to Fat Teddy's. We sit down and everybody cheers as like gold schnapps. And we all like do a shot of gold schnapps. And then I was like, Mom, will you come to the bathroom with me? She was like, yeah. We go to the bathroom again, like full waterwork, like sobbing in the stall with her holding me. And I was like, she's like, you okay? I'm like, I think I'm okay. Then we go, and then I ate a poutine and it was okay.
I ate a
Like-
poutine. Yo, shout out, Kit. That's the most Canadian thing ever.
Yeah. So I think that's like, that was the moment that it was like, it all came from being up to like being like, okay, back to reality. Like,
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. And then how was the like if you want to talk, how was the sustained kind of down? Because a lot of Olympians, especially gold medalists, talk about this sustained down.
Yeah. I just had no interest in going back to it for a while. Like there was like was that how it happened? So sorry, I'm like, my timeline gets
That's okay.
muddled.
Yeah, that's fine.
But there was a contest in France, 3.5. Sorry. There was a contest in France 3.5 weeks later, and I went to it because I wanted to win the Crystal Globe.
Right. For
And
the,
it would have been my first one.
what was your first one?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was my first one. So I wanted to win the Crystal Globe, and I remember being on the chairlift with two of my like main competitors, and they were like, one of them was like, I'm really surprised to see you here. And the other one was like, I'm not. And I was like, that's so funny. Like, that's like the two ways it could have gone. Like, I came because I really want the Crystal Globe, or I'm not going because I just don't give a shit anymore.
Yeah.
And I went, and then I won the contest, and I won the Crystal Globe, and I was like, woo. And then after that, I was like, fuck this.
But you got your Crystal Globe.
I got my Crystal Globe.
That's just how
like,
competitive you are.
It is,
You
and
just
that's
needed
it.
that.
I had to.
Yeah.
Like, I had to go. Like it was my year to win the Globe. Like I knew it, and like even if I would have gotten 8, I would have won it. I just had to be there to compete.
Yeah.
And so after that, like I think I went through like a few months of just partying, like not doing anything. Like I didn't go to the gym. I didn't go skiing. I didn't do anything. I didn't even talk to like my coach for like months. I was just like, I don't want anything to do with this. And then like I didn't even really compete that year. Yeah, I just had no interest in it. And I was just like, I just don't want to do it.
Well, it's such a hard road to get there. I kind of understand like wanting a break.
Yeah. Just like fully like, it's like, meh. Like I don't want, yeah. So that kind of was just like the uninterest in everything. Like the kind of the low, the down, the like nothing's ever going to live up to that. Like I've made it. I've done my goal. Like what's next kind of thing. Like I thought I was done. Like I thought I wasn't going to do it anymore. It was just like, like, meh.
What brought you back?
My competitive nature.
Was there a moment where you're like, I got to get back out there?
Yeah.
What was it?
It was, I think would have been like 2019 in the like, I don't know. X Games is like a huge one. Uh-oh. Should I do that? Should we just pause? It's my phone ringing, but I had it on silent.
Go get it.
But then I'm going to be in this weird spot. It's probably Justin. I'll just let it ring.
He's fine. You think the baby's okay?
Yeah, she's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're at 2019 then. 2019, he's going to be all right.
He's going to be fine.
He's a big boy.
He's a big boy. He's got lots of milk. It's fine.
Mom's up there. Oh, Dad's up there.
Yeah.
He's going to be all right.
He'll feel fine.
So that's a double call because I went through Do Not Disturb. You're just check on him. We can cut here if we have to. You know what's making me laugh in my head right now?
What?
Is I think you totally forgot to bring your medals. We're bad media people.
Yeah, I know. It's funny. I was like halfway down and I was like, maybe I should have brought my medals.
Oh yeah, you thought about it too?
Yeah.
As soon as we started talking about it, I was like, didn't bring them. I totally forgot to even think about bringing them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can cut in a photo.
Yeah, we'll do it in your living room.
Yeah.
Is he all right?
Yep. Yeah, it wasn't even him.
Who was it?
It was Meg.
Double call.
I don't know. Maybe this is my favorite. She's in my favorite. So she probably got through it.
Meg's everyone's favorite.
I know.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, so
Get back into it. Yeah, what got you back?
2019, everybody went to New Zealand, and I was like, I want to go to New Zealand. And I booked my flight and went. And
sick.
And I got there and I was like, this is where I'm supposed to be. And it was just like, I feel like I'm so competitive that I was watching people learn new tricks and I was like, no, I must do that as well.
Okay, so this was my question. This was where I was going to lead with this because this got really interesting for me as a sports fan. As an actual sports fan, we look at the Liz Swaneys, like Marie Martineau was like pretty close to you in 2018, like maybe challenging if she put down the run of her life.
Yeah.
But she was also, what, 33 with 2 kids at home? Like,
But yeah.
1.
Yeah.
Right. Sorry.
2 now, but
2 now.
yeah.
Right. But really, like,
yeah.
if you landed in 2018, there was nothing.
Yeah.
There was nothing coming. But that changed the industry completely. And in the next couple of years, we started seeing like these girls coming out, and I was like, whoa, what's this? Like, where were these?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like the one that came up first was Kelly Soldaru, and she came from Estonia, and she kind of just came out of nowhere, and it was like, whoa, this young girl, like, where'd she come from? And she was more on the like spin to win. Like she could spin left, she could spin right, she could do a 10, no problem. She's this petite little girl. But to me, like, we've always, like, I think we've never seen eye to eye to this. And her coach and my coach, and we'd go to the judges meetings and be like, don't like that. And they'd be like, we don't like that. And we like never saw eye to eye. Whereas like she was doing switch 10s, but she was doing them upright spinning. Whereas to me, I'm like, I'd rather do a switch 5 and grab and make it styly and like go bigger than do it in the wall. You know, like there's just like pieces that we just didn't agree on. Yeah. And the big one that like hurt was World Championships in Park City. I put down like what I thought was a really good run, and it put me in first. And then she comes out and does a switch 10. Hell yeah, sister. That's amazing. But she did it a foot under the wall, standing upright, pulled her knees up, punched her boot, and landed. You know, like that was kind of it. Yeah. And they put her above me, and she, like I've never won a world championships.
Really?
I've always been
silver.
Second.
Yeah.
3 silvers.
Yeah.
So I like it, like to that one, like every other silver I've deserved. I will admit that one was so hard, and like that's kind of what put Kelly and I on just being like, nope, we just don't agree. And like that one, like I went to the judges and was like, why? Tell me why. Watch the replay of that and tell me why. And that kind of like put me on being like, should I just spin? Like, should I just do what they're looking for now? Like, is this the way that it's going? And I couldn't get there. And was just like, I won't.
Because amplitude is a huge part of judging criteria. Exactly. Getting above the wall is a big piece of half-pipe judging.
And to me, I'm like, I'll go bigger than any girl out here, and that's what's going to win it for me. Like, that's where my energy is going to lie, is like pushing the height. Yeah. But yeah. And then go. We keep going. And in 2020, Eileen Gu comes onto the scene. Yeah.
Which is crazy because I knew her when she was like 10 years old.
I know, and that's crazy.
It is wild.
Yeah. Yeah. So Eileen Gu comes out. She's 15 or 16 at the time. Yeah. She starts killing it. And like her style is unmatched. Like she's doing super cool tricks. She's grabbing. She's going big. She's really like respectable. Like I was stoked watching her ride. And then she starts beating me. I'm like, shit, like the young guns, like, and I'm 28, 29, and I'm like, I've got to change what I'm doing. I've got to do bigger things. And so And
that's really the first time you'd ever been pushed in your career.
Yeah. Because I was doing the pushing before. Yeah.
And the Eileen Yu thing, like, yeah, Kelly, every once in a while would sneak one in there, and like the judges would give her one, but like, watching you and Eileen ski was very much like the David Goliath kind of situation, like the young gun young, and you're just like, whoa, this is...
She was coming for me.
She was. Yeah.
It was epic. And like, it's like, I respected it, you know, like that's where I was like, you won. Like you deserved that win. Like that was cool. I really liked it. And so that kind of put into my head, I was like, I need to do bigger, better. I need to keep going too. And so I learned a cork 12. And I had done it a couple of times.
World first?
No. I mean,
for girls?
Semantics here.
Okay.
Annalisa Drew from the US did it once upright.
Okay. Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I thought it was yours.
Yeah, no. And then so I did it corked. So I did it upside down. She did it upright. So
I didn't know that.
Not first, but if you really break it down.
Sure.
You know. And so I was like, I'm going for this. And like a lot of the like Justin, he was like, just do a dub 12. Like, don't do a straight cork 12. And I was like,
Justin wanted you to go double 12.
he would have preferred it.
Really?
Yeah, because the straight up cork 12 is really dangerous.
Yeah.
Just because you're coming out of it with so much
velocity,
rotation, and like, but I couldn't, like, I had done a couple doubles onto airbags, and I just couldn't understand the way that it was coming around. Whereas I know the rotation of just a straight cork really well. Like
you've done
very comfortable with it.
Entire career. Yeah.
Like it's all good. And so I did it a couple times on snow and copper in 2020. And then I didn't compete it. And then I did it at X Games 2021. Yeah.
Was it one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did it at X Games 2021. I landed it my first run.
You gotta preamble this so much, because there was such a huge battle between you and Eileen going on that whole season.
Yeah.
Like, you guys were coming for each other.
Yeah.
We're in Olympic pre-qualification year.
Yeah.
So you guys have kind of been biting at each other's heels. She's been this absolute young gun, 3-sport, coming up super hard.
Yeah.
You're trying to hold position, learning new tricks. You know, we all know we're going into the Olympics in a couple months. You're bad at your pre-am.
Sorry. I know. I just think of it all where it's like, wow, they know what's going on.
Yeah, it's just my life.
Yeah.
So, okay, I broke my own preamble there. So we arrive at the X Games.
Yeah.
Biggest contest, like, and
outside of the Olympics.
I think for like this industry, like for your normal everyday person, Olympics really matters.
Yeah.
For us,
X Games.
Who cares?
Respect.
X Games. Like, that's the industry. Like, if you're a skier or a boarder, it's about the X Games.
Yeah.
That's what it's about.
Yeah.
So we go into the X Games.
Yeah.
First run hit.
Me and Eileen, we're like back and forth. We're training. I'm watching her train. She's watching me train. We're both, you know what? The thing is too, is that we're so competitive, but we're still super respectful. And like, we chat and we're nice, and like we hang out, and like when we're in the like athletes lounge, we sit together. Like, it's not like, it's like
no animosity.
You know? Yeah. It's not bad. But I think we both still had that little like devil on our shoulder that we're like, we're gonna beat her. I'm gonna beat her. You know, like we both were trying. And she was dominating. Like, she was winning everything. Like, it was really cool to see.
What was it like to get beat?
You know, it was the first time when I got beat was from Kelly, and that one hurt.
Yeah.
Like, I was just not, you know.
I didn't feel like you got beaten the right way.
Exactly. I was just like, I was upset about it. I didn't feel like it was deserved.
Yeah.
No offense, Kelly.
That's fair.
It's just like
it's a
our
judge
opinions.
sport.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, it's, everything can come down to the judging. Like, one day they like this, the other day they like this, and that's just what it is.
Yeah.
And so when Eileen beat me, it was kind of like, she deserved that one. You know, like, and that's fair. Like, when I was like, I got beat and that sucks, but it was like, oh, I get why I got beat.
Yeah. She beat me.
Yeah. She beat me.
Yeah.
She did it.
Yeah.
She nailed it. Like, big time respect.
Yeah. How was that light of fire?
So bad. Like, that's what made me want to learn at 12, was because I was like, what can I do? Like, and my switch game's never been super, super strong. I've like
Switch 7 though, aren't you?
The Switch Core 7, yeah. Yeah. So, but it's still like, it's not very good. And like, I didn't do it that often. I only did it when like I needed to do it because I'm not comfortable with it. Like, I don't love switch skiing, but I know that I need to do it. So like, I always like, my warm-ups when we start training is just like, we call them Pop-Tarts, when you just go forward, backwards, forward, backwards, forward, backwards. But I don't love it. And Eileen, super good at switch, like nails the switch and like makes it look good and goes big. And it was kind of just like, okay, I've got to do something. And so that's when I learned the 12. So then we come to X Games 2021, and I'm like, okay, I've got this 12 in my back pocket. I've only landed it 3 or 4 times. I'm going to try. So I do the first run and I land it, and I'm like, yes, that was sick. I'm stoked, but it still only put me in second behind her because everything else was like not great. Cause I think I was just like so flustered that I had landed it, and I'm just like, whoa, that's crazy. And so I go into my second run and I'm like, okay, like my ski tech, Kenny, he was like, what are you going to do? I was like, I'm going to go big. Like, what else do I have to do? Like, I'm going to go big or I'm going to go home. And he was like, all right. And I went home.
That's still one of the hardest things I've ever had to watch as a brother. Yeah. And it was crazy because me and Darce were in your house.
Yeah.
Darcy, our other brother.
Yeah.
We're in your house, and he had. I'm gonna let you go ahead. Yeah. So you went for a second run.
Went huge. Didn't adjust enough of my speed. Like I knew I was going big, but I set it too hard for how big I was going. Landed with a little bit too much rotation. Ski didn't pop off. Knee hit the ground. Huge pop. And I'm like sitting there, laying there, and I'm holding my knee, and I knew I blew my knee. Like I knew it. But I've seen other people blow their knees before, and they scream and they scream. And I was always kind of like, okay, like, you're being dramatic. But it's like a body reaction. Your body reacts to it. And that's kind of just like, I was screaming, and I like couldn't stop myself from screaming. And I was like, this is, in my head, I'm thinking, this is embarrassing. Like, I was embarrassed that I was injured. And I was holding my knee, and I'm going to swear here, you can beep it out. But I was sitting there holding my knee, and one of the monster photographers was on the deck, and I'm screaming, and he's like, someone's coming. And I looked at him, and I go, I just blew my fucking knee. I need help.
They took so long to get to you.
So long. And I'm standing there, and I'm holding my knee, and he's like, it's okay, Cass. Like, it's okay. Like, he's like trying to talk me down, but all I can feel is me screaming. And I'm like, thinking that the cameras are picking up that I'm screaming, and it's so embarrassing. Everybody at home's listening to this. And Justin's at the bottom, and I can see him starting to hike up. And then as he's starting to hike up, they come down. And so he stops because he knows I'm coming down. Yeah.
They took so long.
So long. Like, that was brutal.
And it's crazy too, because on most, as far as I remember the broadcast, like usually they pan off the person, and that was one of the few broadcasts where they're just holding the camera.
And I'm just holding my knee screaming there. Oh,
and they just left it.
Yeah.
And we were all just sitting at home like, someone, please, please go get, like, what's taking so long?
So awful. And I remember she got to me, this snow patrol, and she's like, what hurts? I was like, my knee. And she like starts checking my hips and my back. I was like, everything is fine but my knee. Like, get me out of here. And she was like, well, we have to. I was like, no, you don't. Put me on this sled, get me out of here. And she was like, okay. Put me on the sled, because I know, being a competitor, when somebody hurts themselves, you're standing up there, you're watching, and you're hearing what's happening. Like, and that can mess with your head so much. And I just didn't want, it was embarrassing. Like, it's so stupid that like getting hurt after trying like one of my biggest tricks is embarrassing, but it's like, that's who I am. And so I remember I got down to the bottom, and Justin, he goes, did you blow your knee? I blew my knee. And he's like, fuck. I was like, yep. And then the doctor comes out, and he was like, he checks everything. He goes, you know what you did? Like, I know what I did. He's like, okay. He's like, do you want to go to the hospital? And I was like, is the MRI machine running? He's like, no. I was like, then no. Like, I know what I did. Like, I don't need you to diagnose me unless there's like an MRI I can go do right now. So I went and I sat and I watched the rest of the contest.
Dude, hard as nails.
Yeah.
Did they give you anything, or were you just...
No, I popped my champagne that I had, and I just started drinking champagne.
On the podium.
Yeah, so I got second, which great.
Yeah.
And I like used my ski pole to hobble over and stood on the podium, and then drank a bunch of champagne, went home, started icing my knee, and got on my flight, came home the next day, had an MRI, and had full reconstructive knee surgery 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
Worst thing ever. COVID is happening. So I'm quarantined for 2 weeks coming back into Canada. So I wasn't allowed to even go to a doctor in that 2 weeks. So they were just like, well, we're just going to book your surgery. Like, we know that that's what it is. And they just booked my surgery. And then I had surgery in Banff, which is about an 8-hour drive from where I live. And Mom came out to be with me for the surgery. And so I go into surgery. They're doing my ACL, MCL, and meniscus. And they're putting in...
Really dummied that.
I really did.
Dummied that knee.
All the way. And when this doctor, Dr. Hurd, he's like the best in Canada. He's like, he does everybody's knees. Like, he's the knee guy. And he puts in like an extra little thing that like holds for rotation. It takes a bit longer to heal, but it's like it helps full in the long term when I go back to skiing. So I get surgery, he puts that in, blah, 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 blah. I've had 6 surgeries before this one. And so I wake up from surgery and I'm like, oh my God, it hurts. And they're like, well, you just had surgery. And I was like, no, like I know what waking up from surgery feels like. This hurts. And they were like, okay, like we'll give you a bit more morphine. And they give me some morphine and I'm sitting there and I'm like, something's wrong. Like something hurts. Like, again, like I've had my collarbone, my thumb, my ankle, like I've had surgery. And they're like, okay, like we'll check it. And they bring the mobile x-ray machine over and they x-ray my knee and they were like, oh, when we put in the staple into your femur to put down this extra thing, we fractured your femur. I was like, what? Insert photo of broken femur.
1 in a million.
Right?
One in a
And he was
million.
like, I'm so sorry. Like that's never happened to me before. And he was like, we could go back in and like fix it, or like it's like a splint, like it was kind of like a shard of bark had like peeled off my bone, like it wasn't actually broken. He was like, or you just like don't put any weight on it for 2 weeks and like just let it heal, and then it'll just be a bit longer of a recovery. And I was like, whatever you think, like I don't know. And so then I ended up spending 3 days in the hospital because the pain, like
Yeah, I
broken
remember.
femur, like,
I remember you being very in pain that whole time compared to other knee surgeries
yeah,
where generally people get out of knee surgery and
Yeah.
they're like, oh,
yeah,
we're getting back on it.
yeah.
Like,
He like told me when we did the surgery before, he was like, yeah, you'll leave today. Like you won't even spend a night. Like, perfect. And then I ended up spending 3 nights. And mom was there waiting for me to drive me home. And she was like, well, what do I do? And they wouldn't let her in the hospital because of COVID.
right.
So she like walks around the whole hospital, finds my window, and she's just peering in and we're waving and we're like FaceTiming while like to chat through the window, whatever. And then drove 8 hours home. And then that was the big thing.
That was a big recovery process for you too.
Big recovery process.
And this is how far out from 2022 Olympics?
A year.
A year, almost exactly, right?
Exactly.
Exactly a year.
Yeah.
And that was a long road too, even getting, I know we've been talking for a while
That's
now.
okay.
I hope you're down to continue talking.
Let's blast this out. So
There was a long road.
long road.
Long road to the Olympics after that.
So 14 days of just no weight. Like can't walk on it, nothing. Don't do anything. You and Darce come to mom and dad's and hang out with us for a bit.
Yeah.
We play Catan, we hang out, we eat food, we whatever, which was really nice. Mom was like full on nurse, like every 3 hours waking me up, giving me pain meds. And then I went back home and like started seeing a physio, started like doing easy weights. And then that kind of lasts for like 5 months of just like easing back into it. And then at 6 months, you can kind of start like progressing and like kind of jumping and doing weighted stuff. And like I'm going through it really quickly.
It's okay. We'll bang through this section. I'm more curious.
Yeah.
I think the more important part of like this story that I know from you, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but like once you got back on snow, you didn't make it any easier. You got back on snow as, because by the time you get back on snow, you're how far out from the Olympics?
So we were 3 months.
3 months.
3 months.
So from a knee surgery,
Okay,
they fractured your femur. You're back on snow. You got 3 months before the Olympics.
I my first day back on snow was exactly 9 months out from my surgery. So I was the earliest you can possibly be on snow after knee surgery was what I was. So I would go to Switzerland and I'm on snow, but I'm under strict orders. I'm not allowed in the pipe. I can only go on groomers and I can only carve forward. I can't go backwards.
Good.
So I'm just in Switzerland watching everybody learn new tricks, landing stuff. Like the boys are killing it. And I'm just out here carving down and I'm like trying to like push it, right? And I've got this big knee brace and I hate the knee brace. And it's just like so frustrating. But like at least I was on snow. That was kind of what I was thinking. At least I'm here and I'm on snow. And so I do that for like 4 or 5 days, like just carving. And they're like, are you sore? Are you hurting? What's wrong? Nothing. I'm great. Of course I'm in so much pain, but no, I'm totally fine. Let me in the pipe. And they finally were like, okay, you can go in the pipe.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And then all of a sudden I was nervous. I was like standing at the top of the pipe and I was like, oh my God, I'm dropping into the pipe. And like my first drop in, like I was like chattery. Like I was so nervous. I dropped into the pipe and I'm just doing straight airs. And And then as soon as I dropped in, I was like, like I'm home, like it's safe, it's good, I'm good. And then I was only allowed to do straight airs for a few days. And then we had 2 days left. And I was like, please let me do like a cork 9. And they were like, no, we're going to ease into this. And I was like, you guys know that that's like my easiest trick. Like, fine, if it was somebody else, do a 540. But you know that like this I can do in my sleep. Like, let me do a cork 9. And they were like, don't tell Dr. Hurd. And I was like, okay, let's go.
Deal.
So I go up and I'm like nervous, but I like did the cork 9 and I landed totally fine. And it was like, oh, my knee's okay. Like I'm okay. And then we were on our last day and I was like, let me do 2 cork 9s. They were like, no. And I was like, let me just link cork 9s. Like, let me do a left to a right. And they were like, no. And I was like, I'm going to go do a left to a back to a right. And they were like, okay. And so that last day I did a left cork 9 to a right cork 9 and I landed a tiny bit wonky. And I was like, wow, that hurts. Like, whoa, that's not very much fun. That's okay.
Dying.
That's fine. So I do the back-to-back 9s and I'm like, okay, I'm content. Like, it's going to be okay. And then we go back to Calgary. We train a little bit. It's not really coming back as quickly as I wanted it to. I'm nervous. I'm a bit like apprehensive. Like, blowing your knee sucks. Like, I don't want to do it again. Like, that was awful. And then we go to Colorado and we do a World Cup. And I'm so adamant of like, let me do my run. They're like, no, like you can do the bare minimum.
The B run.
Yeah.
Because you still got to qualify at this point.
Still have to qualify.
So you still have to qualify for the Olympics.
Yeah. I just needed to I needed to compete. And then the next one, I needed to get like a top 10 and I would have been okay.
Yeah.
But I was like, let me do my run. And they were like, no. And I was like, okay, let me do 9s.
And when you say they, for anyone who's like, who's they? Who is they? What's this they you're talking? What's this they? This evil they?
It's like the Freestyle Ski Association that is our national team that is government funded. So they have like so many people that this has to go through, like that don't understand sport. Whereas like I'm like, if it were somebody else to do a 540, fine, that makes sense. That's a progression. To me, doing my cork 9 is like my easiest trick. For me, that makes the most sense. But somebody that's like in like an office job position looking at paper, that doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. But to like my coach Trennan, it makes sense. So it's like finding the like in between. But there's like an SNC, so like strength and conditioning coach. There's our gym trainer. There's our coach. There's our assistant coach. There's like this, I don't even know what to call her, the CEO of Freestyle Ski Canada. And then there's the 2 doctors. Right. So there's like 7 extra people that I have to talk to before I'm allowed to do what I know I can do. Essentially
levels of government that you have to clear because you're funded through the government, exactly. Because they just took care of your surgeries, because they take care of your gym. Yeah. You don't have to appease a government they.
But the best part about it is that they know that if I get back on snow, I'm an Olympic threat. Like I can go to the Olympics and compete. And
which they need for.
They need us to be there because then we get more funding, then we get more opportunities. And like, if I'm there, that's better. So when I'm like, let me do my run so I can qualify, there's like a bit of like a, like finding the middle ground.
The game to be played.
Exactly. And so I think I got 7th at the first World Cup.
And they wouldn't let you do your run.
They wouldn't let me do my run.
They would not.
Yeah. I wasn't allowed to go backwards. So I did nothing switch in my run.
And you still got 7th.
And I still got 7th. Okay. And then we did Dew Tour. And I think I got 6th. And that one hurt because that was a week and a half later, maybe 2 weeks later. And I did my run.
Oh, you did?
I did my run. I finally was allowed to do the 10 at the end. Mm-hmm. And I didn't land it. And I didn't do my full run. That's why I got 6th. But my run was going so good, so clean. Go to hit the 10 and I like just under rotated it and slip out and my ski pops off.
Yeah.
But then of course, like I'm upset because I could have been on the podium, but everybody else is like, how's your knee? Are you okay? What's going on? Like, no. Like my body's fine. My ego hurts.
Yeah.
Like,
because you land backwards on a 10.
Yes.
And this is their big concern with knees.
Exactly.
You landing backwards.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just put the way that it pulls on the hamstring and they took from my hamstring to build my ACL again. Like that's how that knee construction happens.
Yeah.
So I get 6th, and then we go to the World Cup in Calgary, and I think I got 4th, and that hurts the most.
Home soil?
Yeah, home soil. You're just off the podium. That sucks. And then I remember, so then I qualify with that though. So
Yeah,
I'm qualified for the Olympics. I'm good to go. And I remember
they are happy.
They are happy.
They are happy.
They're pleased. But then I remember mom telling me, she was like, we're all like a bit nervous because like you're so competitive. Like, what if you don't podium at the Olympics? Like, what's going on? Like you're not at the top caliber of you are. And she told me that you told her, don't worry, she's playing the game. She's going to be able to, she's just riding this wave, and at the Olympics, she's going to peak. Like, don't stress about it.
That's exactly my opinion.
Yeah,
That was my opinion the whole time. I was like, she's going to take 5th and 6th and hate it the whole time.
Yeah.
Then she's going to get to the Olympics and it'll be her and Eileen again.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Like, it was a long ride too. It was hard watching because you know how much it hurts and you know what this athlete's capable of.
Yeah.
But then there's like this crazy game that no one really thinks about where it's like, everyone's like, oh, you go to your contest and you try your hardest, and it's like, not always. Not always. It really depends on what you're trying to do. Like, which contest are you trying to win, and who are you trying to beat, and how do you strengthen and condition? And like, there's a crazy side aspect to this that there's a game. There's a game to be played.
You have to play it right too. And we did a really good job of it. They allowed me to do what I needed to do to like get there. And then once we were there, it sucked because it was COVID Olympics. So no one was allowed to come. Yeah. We had no crowds, no nothing, but I was one of the lucky ones because Darce qualified for the Olympics.
Our brother Darcy.
Yeah. And he was able to be there. And then my husband Justin was coaching for Great Britain. So I had my husband and my brother there to cheer me on, which was the best.
Just having any kind of support.
Any kind of like, that wasn't just like your teammates, you know?
And how was it like, did you sports psych? Were you going to a sports psychologist into this? Like, what was the mental aspect of this from like this kind of horrific crash? You get these girls chasing you. You're on your way to the Olympics. Like, there's so much going on. You got married in this time? Was that? It was 2022. No, it was.
Yeah, it was right before.
Right before. Yeah, you got married summer 21.
Yeah.
So there's so much going on. You're living this completely separate life. You're coming back from this.
Got a dog.
Shout out Tony. Quite horrific injury. Like, is there a huge psychology aspect going on in the background that not many people would have heard about? Or
sure, we have one of the best sports psychs in the world. I really truly think that. Her name is Penny Werthner. She works at the University of Calgary. She's the dean there for the neurology department. And she's the best. And so anytime we're in Calgary, I go see her at the university. She plugged me into monitors.
Really?
From my brain, sweat glands, on your ears, your heart rate, everything. And you sit in this big lazy boy. And then there's a screen in front of you. And there's different games. And it's crazy because you're like, there's like BS, this doesn't work. And there's like, so one of the examples is there's a puzzle and you have to focus and you have to build the puzzle. So you're
with your mind?
Your mind.
What?
So you're sitting there and you're like, and it's like essentially like replicating the flow state, like getting into that focus. And you sit there and you say, build the puzzle, build the puzzle, build the puzzle. And you just like think, you just like all your energy, nothing else matters. You're just focused on this. And then the puzzle starts to go.
Yeah, right.
And it starts to build and it makes music. So it stresses you out. So as soon as you think of anything else, it stops and the music stops. And you're like, why isn't the puzzle building? Build the puzzle. Why isn't it's crazy.
No way.
So then once you build the puzzle, she's like, okay, break up the puzzle. Think of everything else. Like, we're going to deconstruct the puzzle. And so you're like, I think I got to go to Michael's later. I think I'm going to go sew a shirt. And you like think of everything else and it like crumbles.
Really?
It's very cool.
That's insane. Yeah. That's some futuristic stuff right there. Wow.
The other one is it's a dart and you have to get it to the dartboard. And you go dart to the dartboard, dart to the dartboard. And you're just thinking it goes beep, 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 beep. And then you're like, oh my God, why isn't it moving anymore? The music stops. You're like, oh my God. And then it starts stressing and then you're sweating and it checks your glands. Like, it's nuts.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Crazy.
We do like actual like real mind stuff. And then she's also kind of like more like, how do you feel today? What are you upset about today? Let's talk. Yeah. So she's great. And she was in Korea with us. and she was in Beijing with us as well.
Nice.
And so leading into Beijing was like definitely a mental trip, because like I took the mentality, I'm going for fun. Like I was like, I am a year out from surgery. I haven't been training very much. I'm going to just go and have a really good time.
Yeah.
That's kind of like where I was with it. But of course,
I don't believe it for a second.
I'm so competitive. So how am I supposed to like really like be like, I'm okay, you know? And so I go for qualifying.
I'm going to, before you get there, I'm really happy we talked about Liz Swaney earlier.
Yeah.
Because once again, like the 2018 Olympics in Korea, you were an animal and there was just not much of this field. But while you'd been away for this year and while we were leading into these Beijing games, like female halfpipe skiing had transformed
so much.
And there were probably 5 or 6 girls who were all a gold medal threat.
Yeah.
Like it was a real contest. That was a real contest.
Yeah. Like you've got Eileen Gu, you've got Rachel Carker, you've got Amy Fraser, you've got Kelly Sildaru, you've got Britta Sigourney. Like you've got the top dogs, and like literally in any order it could have gone.
Yeah.
Like, that day.
And
one day of.
One thing I really like about female sports compared to like male sport is like we all kind of know what tricks the guys are going to do, but because there's more gaps in the female athletes, they all attack the course completely differently.
Yeah.
Like you attack it with course versus I think it's Britta goes massive, like massive. And then, you know, Eileen's really, really smooth and grabs and Kelly's just kind of spinning. And like, I really like in kind of all female winter disciplines right now, like how differently the women have to attack the course compared to like male snowboarding. You're like, okay, so what are we going to see? A bunch of quads and triples today? Like, it's just very interesting now. Yeah,
sure.
Sorry. So you go into qualifications.
Yeah,
it was just
qualifications. I think I qualified 6th.
How many go in? 8?
No, 12.
Oh.
Yeah. At the Olympics.
Thinking X Games.
Yeah, exactly. X Games is, I think, only 8 get invited.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then, so it goes from like 28 girls down to 12. And yeah, I think I qualified right in the middle in 6th. And that was kind of, again, playing the game, like just qualify, like just land your run and qualify. So we did that. And then going into finals, stressful again, can't eat, can't think, can't sleep, like so stressed. And it's really windy in Beijing. And so
that pipe is really windy.
It's super windy.
Going back earlier, like I only knew Eileen since she was 10 because I lived in China for the whole time.
Yeah.
I was actually one of the first people to ever ride that pipe.
Yeah. Crazy.
It's crazy. It was so crazy. It was heartbreaking for me as well. Like just with my kind of story in China, and you know, I built the first terrain park at that resort. I was there when that pipe was first cut by Tyson, you know, the first year. Like, it was so heartbreaking for me not to be able to be there and see you and Darce compete at this resort that I'd been there since they poured the chairlift foundation.
Yeah.
Really feel like something got stolen from me there. There's my own personal bit.
The COVID bit like sucked. Like, we were getting tested every morning before leaving our hotel.
Deep too. They were going hard
in there, and they were all in like the little like Michelin man outfits. Like, oh, it just sucked. It just a different vibe from Korea. But yeah, going to qualifiers, I had the worst training I have ever had in my entire life, because you'd get 45 minutes to train before the contest, and I didn't land one run.
Just wind blown.
I got blown full. I had another hematoma on my elbow. Like my knee hurt, my body hurt. I just fallen the whole time. Like I'm not exaggerating. I didn't land one top to bottom run the whole training.
Yeah.
And I like got to the bottom, and Penny is there, our team psych, and I just start crying. And I was just like, oh my God, like what am I doing? Like and she was like, you know what you said from the beginning, like just
here for fun,
have fun, enjoy yourself. And as I'm like talking to her bawling, Darcy and Justin walk by, and they look at me and they go, good luck. And they just keep walking, like they didn't stop. Like, and that was probably the best thing they could have done. They like didn't try to.
Those two are hilarious together.
So
They're so. Sometimes I feel like you pick Justin for Darcy. Like they hang out sometimes, and I'm just like, you guys are just so perfect together.
Yeah, they're so funny. And so, she was like, just have fun. And I was like, okay, that's all I can do. And so I went back up, start competing, land my first run. It's pretty good.
We're in finals now.
We're in finals.
So you had the worst training ever before
training
finals.
leading up to finals.
Okay, you said qualies earlier.
Oh, sorry.
I was thinking about that. I was like,
Yeah.
she's only in finals.
No, yeah.
Before
the
finals. Yeah.
Didn't land one run leading up to the final.
Just not happening.
No, wasn't going for me. But then for whatever reason, changing my mentality into like this fun, happy, exciting, who cares kind of idea, because I really had to, because I was like, if I put too much pressure on this because I haven't landed a run, like I'm so screwed.
Yeah.
So then I dropped in, landed my run without the 10 at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And was
pretty
like,
safe run then.
Pretty good run, pretty safe. Like put me in fourth at the time. And was like, it's good.
Yeah.
And then I go back up for my second run. I was like, okay, well, I landed that. Let's clean it up. Let's do good. Do another run with the 10. That was good. Perfect. Like right on. And then I did my third run.
And but that second run put you in second with Eileen in first. Which was like this very like mirrored kind of X Games moment where it's like we're moving into our third run.
Yeah.
Eileen's in first. You're in second. And then so we're going into our last run.
Yeah, last run. And I did both way 10s. Like my right 10 and my left 10 with my cork 9s and a switch hit. But the switch hit sucks. Like I know it. Like I know that. And my biggest regret to this day is not doing my switch 7. I wake up in a sweat thinking about it sometimes.
Really?
Yep. Like so bad.
You dream about it.
I dream about it. I think about it. Sometimes it just pops into my head. I'm like, you're an idiot. Why didn't you do it?
Really?
Big time. Like, and I think if I would have done it, I could have rivaled for the top spot. And I just didn't do it because I didn't feel safe doing it. Like it's just like it's such a pull on my knee. And I was like, the finals were a day exactly to a year of my knee surgery.
Was it actually?
Yeah. Exactly the day of my knee surgery a year ago.
No way.
So it was like kind of in my head too. Like, I don't know, there's just so many things, but.
Well, that's what I was talking about sports psych, because there was so much going on in that. Whereas, going into 2018, you've had like minor injuries. It was just very free and clear. And going into this one was so heavy, like.
Harsh. Yeah. And then, I landed my third run and it didn't beat Eileen and I was in second. And it was kind of like, okay, I'm in second, right on. Like I did it, like I got to the Olympics. I came, I competed, I took those fifths, I took those sixths, and I got second at the Olympics and I'm stoked. And then there's this video that came out as a compilation of all my reactions at the bottom of the pipe. And it was just like so joyous and so happy and so lighthearted. And I was like, I really think that if I would have taken that in a different direction of like being stressed and like putting pressure on myself, I don't think I would have performed. And so like, it's so funny looking at my mentality and like my stress and my everything from 2018 to like my just like, I don't care. I'm in here I am in 2022.
Yeah.
That is like, wow, what a crazy comparison and a similar outcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're also super established at that point.
Yeah.
You'd accomplished just about.
Yeah.
Except for a World Cup win, apparently.
World Championship.
World Champs win. Sorry.
Yeah.
You'd accomplished just about everything. Like 2018, you're still like quite a young girl coming up fighting for a title. Whereas at this point, you're almost passing the torch.
Yeah, for sure.
That felt like a very kind of torch passing moment where it was like, okay, I did my best there, and like, still took like a very respectable second.
Yeah.
Incredibly competitive field.
Yeah. It was a very different experience from 2018, but like I was just gonna say I don't regret it. I have a regret about my run, but I don't regret the way that it happened. Like I'm really pleased with my performance and with how it all happened. And
Did it have the same feeling coming? Like we talk about that kind of like that breath, that moment you had in Mount Washington where you were just like, holy shit, like this actually just happened. Like, blah, Did it have that same feeling after this one? Or were you more experienced? You're more seasoned, more veteran, and you kind of just knew how to handle it better? Or was there still that moment?
It's so funny and interesting about the way other people reacted to the silver versus the gold. And to me, like, I love the gold. The gold's amazing. I'm so pleased, but I did go into it knowing that I could win. And this one, I came into it thinking like I wasn't even going to podium. Like I came into it thinking like, if I make the final, I'm pleased with myself. Like I'm proud of myself. And like coming out of it with a silver, like I to me, like, it means so much to me. Like, I'm so proud of myself, of like the grit and the determination and like the tears and the blood and everything that went into this silver. Like, to me, like, that was just like, I'm so, it like means almost more to me than the gold. Whereas like everybody from the external is like, oh, good try. Like, good try. You almost did it, And I'm like, what the hell? Like, I'm still on the Olympic podium, like I'm still better than millions of you except for one.
Yeah.
Like, like,
One girl got me a couple times.
Yeah. So like, to me, like the way that like I reacted to it was so different to the gold. And then like I started getting like butthurt about people being like, nice silver. I'm like, F you. Like, what the heck?
Yeah. Because you essentially beat yourself in Beijing.
Yeah.
And that was the whole goal, was like, I need to beat myself.
Yeah. I need to get there. I need to do it. I need to, yeah. So I think it's just totally different experiences.
That's funny. Do you still get that when people talk about your silver and you're like,
sometimes
let's go ride some pipe?
Yeah.
Like, you wanna throw some skis on and come talk about my silver and the
yeah. I'll show you what a silver looks like. Yeah.
Let's go see your switch nine or your right nine. You know, come on, let's go. That's funny.
Yeah, really funny.
You feeling it yet? You feeling that like I got to go back yet? Is it there? Are you starting to look at these girls? X Games is coming up soon. Invites are going out soon. Are you starting to feel it yet?
Really funny. I know, like, I just had a child 3 months ago.
I know, we're gonna get there.
I know, but I know. But it's funny because when I got pregnant, I was like, I'm done. Like, I did it. I did everything. I did it all. I'm like, that's good. And then
world champs.
Yeah, I know. I just missed the world champs win. And then I was pregnant and I went to X Games to just go and encourage and cheer everybody on and announce that I was pregnant. And like, that's why I'm not competing this year, is because I'm pregnant. And I got there and I watched the contest and I was like, might not be done. And then kind of like, not because the skiing wasn't great, not because of nothing. It was like all me. I was like, oh my God, like, I can't let my last X Games performance be me blowing my knee. Like, I have that in me. Like, I have to go back to X Games. I want to go back to the Olympics. Like, I have this like watching, like, everybody's in Kitzsteinhorn right now and Austria training, and I'm watching the clips come out of that. And I'm like, I want to be there. Like, I'm so in love with my daughter. Like, I love her so much. That doesn't take away from the fact that I'm still a competitive individual. Like, I feel like I have an opportunity to like do that cool mom thing and just like come back from that and go to another Olympics. Like,
you've still got stuff sitting in the bank too that people have never seen.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of blows my mind about you. And like, I know we can't talk about it too much, but I know you've got like a couple things sitting in the bank that like
not perfected enough to show the world yet, but like, for sure, I feel like I can still do it. I feel like even if I come back this spring, like, daughter will be 9 months old. Like, even if I like bring her to Calgary with me and I go train with the team and like I have mom come with us to like nanny and like, like keep being a mom and like have her with me and like everything she needs. But like, I can do both. Like, I feel like I can like compete and like have my adrenaline rush and like do all those fun things for me while still being a good mom. So I like definitely like want to, like, I'm itching. Like,
I was wondering if you were yet. I really was. And we haven't even talked about that in our personal outside of this. Like, I was wondering because I knew, Cass, I knew you when you came back from that silver and you're like, I'm good. Like, I want to do like and it's so incredible seeing you with Luella and, Justin's fantastic. And you've got this gorgeous family with this lovely golden retriever and little white brick fence, like American dream styles. And I've just been waiting. I've been like, she's not gonna. It's like the end of the movie where like the guy's like, oh, I'm done, and you're like, and then the last scene is him being like, running away, like going back to the adventures. Like, I just knew there was I did not believe for a second that you were actually able to call it.
I think the thing that like I know that nothing will compare to the adrenaline rush you get when you're standing at the top of the pipe about to drop into any contest, like World Cup, World Champs, X Games, Olympics. It's all adrenaline and like that, like what's going to rival that in my real life? Nothing. So I'm like, if I still have it and I still can do it, and if I come back to it and I'm like, let's go, like, why would I cut that short? Like, I feel like yeah.
You still got a lot to give.
Yeah, I think so. And like some of the girls have got their X Games invite for the year, and like they're posting it on Instagram, and I'm like, am I sure I can't come back this year? Like, am I sure? Like, it's crazy.
How was the whole motherhood process? Like, as like a life, you've got a lot of crazy life experiences that a lot of people can touch. Whereas as a oh my God, microphone sound.
I know.
Like that's a very it's a very unique experience to like that I could never have, like how was the whole motherhood experience in comparison to everything else you ever done in your life? And I know you loved it, but like, just
no, for sure. It's funny because a lot of women are like, I love being pregnant. It's so beautiful. It's like the most amazing thing I've ever done. And I did not feel that. Like, I think like I love her now once she's out of my body. Like I didn't love being pregnant. And I think it comes down to being an athlete where I'm so in tune with my body. And like, if like my knee hurts, I know how to fix it. If I have a bruise, I know I can put arnica on it. If I have aches or pain, I'm going to go to physio. Whereas like you're pregnant and like this little alien's moving independent from you and like I have no control. Like it's so out of my realm of knowledge. Like I've always known I want to be a mom, and I love being a mom, and I love her little smiles and her little coos, and she's so cute. But like the pregnancy, like I almost like I was praying of having twins so that I never had to be pregnant again.
Yeah, because you're gonna go one more.
We have to. You can't. Yeah, Justin's an only child, and we know how. So yeah, I definitely want another one, but we're like kind of like timing works out so good. She's 3 months now, and by the time the Olympics come, she'll be like 2.5. And so I can go compete, train, and then that's like a perfect age gap.
The gap you're shooting for then.
Yeah, pretty much like right after the Olympics, go for a second.
Sweet.
Yeah, why not? But I just think like, again, coming back to it, like mothers are put into such a little box of like, you are now a mother. And like, I think until recently, moms were like kind of been like, you're going back to work? Like, really?
Yeah.
And so like it's kind of interesting to see like the Serena Williams come back from having a child and coming back into sport, and like Mary Martineau having a kid and then coming back and getting a second at the Olympics. Like you're seeing it more often, and it is doable. And I think it's just like, letting like having the support, it takes a village, like having all the support and like being able to like be both. And that's kind of like, I find that exciting, like to not just like put myself into like, I am a mom now box. Like, yeah.
It also makes you a lord. Like it also makes you a lord, like it's so impressive. Like just the strain on the body, the mind, and then having like so many different moving pieces and things going on. Like whenever I do, these characters, Serena Williams, these Marina Martineau who are like training, mothering, like taking care of, helping with the household, all this stuff. And I'm just like, Lord, like we could never, we like to say we could never, like
it's crazy. I've been starting to go to the gym again, and I bring Lou with me to the Whistler gym, and like I'll be in the middle of a workout and she'll start freaking out, and I'll like go into the bathroom, breastfeed her, and then come back out and then go back to my squats. Like, like it's just like the things that we're capable of. It's just like, whoa, like it trips me out so much.
Yeah. Got you.
Thanks.
I think we're like just about kind of anything else you wanted to add at the end there? Did we get it all? I feel like we kind of got it all.
Yeah.
I don't think I had any other questions. I know a little bit more about
actually. I will just add in about being a mom and like going through pregnancy, and like the like idea of it is so weird to me, like growing child and then having child. And I've been through a lot of surgeries, like we talked about. But I went into labor, and I was in labor for 63 hours, and I'm laboring and I'm laboring and I'm laboring, and it's just not happening. My body's not doing what it's supposed to do. And I ended up having an emergency C-section. And the difference of like having a surgery for something that is wrong, like something like to fix a knee, to fix a thumb, to put in a plate in a collarbone, like versus having a surgery to like have child taken out of you, and then the recovery of like how deep the C-section scar is versus like kind of like the superficial, like on top of bone cut is so weird. Like the amount of like different physios and like when I'm like squatting, like thinking about like holding my abs and like all the different parts of like doing a recovery for a very deep internal scar versus like doing like a knee rehab is like so weird. It's such a different experience.
Can only imagine.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about the doctor's comment at all? Because I think that's a crazy one. Because like you're jacked, you know, like you are
strong.
You are strong.
Yeah.
God, I always do wonder if like, because I remember you when we were growing up, you're the same as mom. Like all of us, me, Darsh too, we're very like thin people in general. Like you managed to hold like
muscle, strong,
dude, so jacked.
Yeah.
And like that didn't really help out in childbirth whatsoever.
No. So when I labored for 63 hours, like again, she was kind of crooked, so it wasn't gonna happen. So I go into the C-section and they said it would take about 45 minutes. We're like, okay, perfect. So they get me all ready. They do the spinal. I'm laying on the table. They put the sheet up.
Curtain.
Justin comes and sits with me, and then I start kind of freaking out. I'm like, whoa, this is like crazy. And then they kind of start whispering, and then the anesthesiologist like hands something over the sheet to the doctor, and then they whisper a little bit more. And Justin's like, it's been an hour, like, hey, what's going on? And the anesthesiologist guy, he's like, yeah, like they're just about to take your baby out. And we're like, okay. And then finally they like take the baby out and they like show like, this is your baby. And she's like not crying. This is also another thing that I didn't know. When C-sections happen, they don't cry right away because they don't have the pressure of coming through the pelvis. Like
I didn't know that.
Like the pelvis like pushes their lungs to like do that, and you don't get that because they come out. And so they like, this is your baby, and then like gives it off to the midwife, and the midwife just starts like smacking her back like to breathe, and you're like, oh, that's crazy. But then after the fact, we had a doula, and she was on the other side of the curtain, and she was like, do you want to know why it took so long? We're like, yep. And she was like, they were putting muscle relaxant injections straight into your abs because Lou was stuck and they couldn't get her out through your abs because your abs were so tight because you're so strong. Like, that is hilarious and also kind of gross.
Jacked.
And then they also, like, I had to use like the forceps on her head to like peel her out. They couldn't get their hands in at the same time because the abs are so crazy.
Did you talk to your trainers about that at all?
I did.
Were they stoked?
I texted Andrew and I was like, I can't wait to tell you about my C-section. And he was like, I hadn't talked to him in a while. And he's like, very weird text to get. Can't wait to hear about it. And then I went and brought her the first time and like was like, look, this is Lou. And then I told him and he was like, nice. That's the best.
Trainer would love that. Yeah.
It was so funny.
That's sick. Okay, my last question. And then I'll let you go.
Yeah.
Do you have any, do you ever think you're ever going to join the government they? Do you ever think like because of your experience as an athlete and seeing all the negative sides of it and the positive sides as well, like, do you think joining the they is something you'll ever getting into the coaching or management side of Ski Canada to kind of help young girls come up through the programs better than you did?
It's really funny. I don't think I would be a good coach. So I don't know if that's like my route. But specifically young girls come through with a lot of male dominated coaches and like that's kind of thing. And like one of my reasons I left one of the teams was because of this male coach was very like, men are better, men are strong, like told me, I don't know how much I can say.
Oh, go for it. Hey, this is your story. And I think it's a really important story too, especially in these strongly male dominated sports, which skiing really is. And I think that is an issue on the coaching side of things. So you go for this is your story. And I think it's a good one to tell. Yeah.
So I was like 16 years old and I was part of this team and we all went in the backcountry and we're riding powder and I lost my ski, which happens. Like I hit something, I tumbled, I lost my ski. So I'm like digging, I'm trying to find it. And I finally find it. It'd been 10 minutes. Like it was deep. It was a fun day. And I get down to my crew and it's like probably 6 guys and the coach. And they're like ages like 14 to 17. And I get over there and he like just looks at me and he goes, and boys, this is why we don't ride with girls. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, that's awful. Like, and I remember I came home crying to mom and was like, why would he say that? Like, I just lost, like, any of these boys could have lost their ski. Like, that has nothing to do with it. And then another separate incident, I did something and I was crying because I fell, something happened, whatever. And he says, why don't you put your hand like this and wipe the sand out of your vagina? And it's like, oops, like, don't think you can say that to me.
Yeah.
Like, that's not like, one, I fell, so yeah, I'm gonna cry. Two, like, boost me up. Don't like tear me down like that. Like, it was horrible. And again, I came home to mom and was like, I can't be on this team anymore. Like, this is horrible.
Yeah.
And then that's when I moved over to BC team. But
yeah,
it's like those incidents happen all the time. And we just think that that's the way that it is. Like, you're going to like, well, like, and if I hadn't told mom, I probably would have stayed on that team and just been like, well, that's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then mom, being mom, was like, no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
And so to me, like, I always, like, I sometimes think about like doing like seminars for like young women in sport where I can be like, this is not the way that it is. You're strong, you're capable. Like, these are ways that you can succeed, and like doing like more of like talking things like that and like workshops with like teenage girls, because there's like a crazy statistic about when girls hit puberty, they all drop out of sport because of different reasons. But like, if I can do some kind of thing to keep women in sports and like allow them to like flourish in that way, that would be more interesting to me. I also thought about being like a team psych and being able to like be like, hey, this is why this is happening. Let's use this to like make us feel better and like be successful. So those kinds of things interest me more than like being a coach and like talking over more technical side of things.
Yeah. Well, I think your experience would be so helpful on the sports side of things, even just as like a kind of consultant, like, oh, you're having a bad day, like you got Cass, you can call Cass, and like, I think you'd be super helpful. Yeah. You've had such a variety of experiences where like, I feel like some athletes just have like really flat ones. Yeah. And they just go up and everything's really good. And then they go home. But you've had such a roller coaster, which
like team dynamics, competing dynamics, traveling, missing home, injuries. Like, I feel like I've got like that umbrella of everything that like an athlete kind of goes through. Yeah.
And will Luella ever ski?
If she wants to.
Oh, we've changed our answer.
It's funny, we were talking about it. Justin and I don't want to push Lou into anything where she can get head injuries. That's like our main thing, is like, that's why we're like, kind of like, we don't want her in hockey, we don't want her in freestyle skiing, we don't like. But the thing is she is like 6 years old and she's like, Mom, I want to go into the freestyle ski club. Of course I'm not going to stop her from doing that, but to us, if we can like gymnastics and dance and like things that are like lower impact on head injury, because of Justin, he's the reason he had to retire was from head injuries. And I think he just is like, I really don't want her to have to deal with that. It sucks.
It's crazy coming from our family where it's like a plague on all of us, And it's something I think about all the time is head, and like, even still to this day, like people, I'll take a lot of shit in the park because I always wear mouth guards snowboarding. Always.
Me too.
And people are like, why? And it's like, I will do anything
to avoid
in my power. Like, you could tell me, like, chew on some ginger before snowboarding, it'll, maybe prevent head injury. I will chew that.
I'll do it.
They're so terrifying.
100%. And I was trying a new trick in New Zealand one year and I don't remember doing the trick. The only reason I know I did it is because I have it on video. But I caught the corner of the deck and just whiplashed my head and then dragged my face down the snow. But like, I don't remember any of it. I don't remember probably 12 hours of the day. I was throwing up. Like, it was just like, and like, I don't wish that on anybody. It's horrible.
The consequences can be so far reaching as well. That's the thing about concussions. The brain's such a mystery. You never, it's like rolling a roulette wheel of like, what are you going to get when you wake up? You know, are you going to be fine? Are you going to have a different personality?
Are you going to be able to taste food?
Are you more prone to anger? Are you going to be able to hear? Like, my last one, I couldn't see for like 12 hours.
It was crazy.
It sucks.
It's horrible.
I like where your head's at. Okay, if people want to keep up with you, if they want to see where you're going, where do they find you? What are your ats? Where are people going to find you at?
Instagram is my biggest, most active thing. At Cassie Sharpe, very easy. CASSIE, Dougie Sharpe, last name Sharpe, SHARPE.
You really got that mixed up. Then why'd you go to me?
Well, because I was saying that you spell your last name the same way as I do, SHARPE.
Yeah.
Okay, Cassie Sharpe. And then I think my TikTok is Cassie Sharpe with an X at the end because somebody had a Cassie Sharpe.
Really?
Yeah.
Bummer.
I know.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of it. I don't really do the Twitter thing or the X now.
I don't do X either.
Yeah.
No.
And what's anything else?
No, YouTube.
Yeah. Facebook. Don't post on it.
Okay. Well, thanks so much for being my very first podcast.
So fun.
It was nice to get those jitters out of the way.
Yeah.
I feel a whole lot better.
We nailed it.
Be good to review.
Yeah.
Well, thanks a lot, Cass. And we'll see you soon. I'm sure the people will be hearing from you in the very next Olympics coming up here quickly.
Milan.
Is it?
Yeah. I know. I'm so excited. That's all, honestly maybe a bit of reason why I want to go. Because both my Olympics have been Asian.
Right.
Excited about a European one.
Sick.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see you there.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
See you later.